everybody had.
But I didn't realize I left the house without my son.
We'll go ahead and begin. Welcome each and every one of you to the fourth meeting of the year of 2026. This Tuesday evening, February 17th. I trust you all had a great Valentine's Day weekend. We're going to begin the meeting with invocation by Pastor Harold Malden with Grace Apostolic Church. Welcome. All rise.
Let us pray. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you this day to ask your blessings upon this meeting. We honor those who graciously serve the citizens of this wonderful city. We give both glory and honor to you as governor of the earth. We acknowledge our weakness in the midst of your strength. We ask that your presence be in this room and that we conduct the business at hand with integrity and grace. Let wisdom rule in our minds, fairness in our heart, and kindness in our souls. We speak peace into this place, and we ask all these things boldly yet humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Director Aaron Holliday. Here. Director Phyllis Beard.
Present.
Director Marcia Dobbs-Smith.
Here.
Director Dudley Webb.
Here.
Director Karen Garcia.
Here.
Director Steve Trusty.
Here.
Mayor Pat McCabe.
Here. This time we'll consider the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions to the agenda, or items to be moved from the consent agenda to new business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Director Trustee, seconded by Director Garcia. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is, the agenda is adopted. Consider approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled meeting of February 3rd, 2026. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Director Dobbs-Smith, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Recognition of guests. Well, we have a good crowd out. You're all of our guests today, but any individual director have a guest they'd like to introduce? Like I said, you're all our guests and welcome. Moving right on to the city manager's report, Mr. Bill Burrow.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. As I typically do, I'd like to start the evening with recognizing some of our new hires, our promotions, and then a retirement. We've had several new hires over the past couple of weeks. Melinda Dobbs in Neighborhood Services Inspector, Eric Beist in Solid Waste, Gavin Carrington, Meter Maintenance, Chance McKinney in Utilities, Jana Klein Walsh in Planning and Development, Matthew Davis, Intercity Transit, Ryan Sweet, Meter Maintenance, Brian Rice, Parks and Recreation, Brandon Melanson, Parks and Recreation, Terry Johnson in Animal Services, and William Coleman in Meter Maintenance. Would like to welcome each and every one of them to the City of Hot Springs and the employee family that we share. We've got several promotions. Donnie Willis was promoted to crew leader in the Utilities Water Distribution Division. Keaton Atkinson promoted to Construction Inspector in Engineering. John Albright promoted to Corporal in the Hot Springs Police Department. And Donald Smith was promoted to crew leader in wastewater lift stations. I want to recognize those four individuals and congratulate them on their promotions. We do have one retirement, Johnny Gilbert. Johnny has been with Utility Building Services. He was hired in October 12th of 1994. After 31 years of service, Johnny has decided to relax, and just wish him all the best in his retirement. That's a big step in anyone's career, and we appreciate all the service that he's given, not only the citizens and the residents of Hot Springs, but everyone that he's worked with. He was a fine gentleman, and wish him well in his retirement. Mayor, as you know, members of the board, by statute, I'm required to present a State of the City report within 60 days of the new year. So tonight, I'd like to offer that to the board and talk a little bit about some of the things that we were able to accomplish in some of our finances as we move through. Friends, neighbors, and fellow residents of Hot Springs, it's an honor to come before you today. As we mark 150 years since the formal incorporation of Hot Springs, we find our city at a remarkable crossroads where the rich heritage of our past meets a future defined by investment and economic stability. I come before you today to report that the state of our city is resilient, our foundation is firm, and our momentum is undeniable. Nowhere is that investment more evident than in the culmination of the Lake Ouachita Water Supply Project. This decades-long, $150 million endeavor, which is the largest in our city's history, is crossing the finish line. I'm proud to announce that in the coming days, actually tomorrow, our citizens will begin drinking water from this new state-of-the-art treatment plant. By tapping into the pristine waters of Lake Ouachita, we are not just solving a utility need, we are securing a legacy of health and growth for the next several generations. We cannot build a future on a shaky foundation. In 2025, we took massive strides in modernizing all systems that keep our city running. From water supply to $78 million in wastewater collection and management to $6 million in streets and sidewalk improvements. We have actively implemented the comprehensive plan update, focusing on walkable streets, better housing choices, and urban design that preserves our unique historical character. Infrastructure is economic development, and by modernizing our infrastructure today, we are ensuring that the Hot Springs of the next 150 years is just as vibrant, resilient, and welcoming as the one our founders envisioned. Last year, we established 8 major goals, and I'm proud to report on the progress and achievements of each. One of the clearest examples of how Hot Springs is growing and how we are responding to that growth is Fire Station number 6. Over the last several years, the city has strategically annexed property in our southern corridor, bringing areas along Central Avenue and Lake Hamilton into the city limits. That growth has included new business, hotels, and residential neighborhoods, and with that growth comes increased demand for public safety services. In April 2025, we broke ground at First Security Way on what will become a $3.6 million, 7,445 square foot public safety hub. When Fire Station number 6 opens in May of 2026, it will ensure families and businesses in South Hot Springs receive the same fast, high-quality emergency response as residents in the historic core of our city. This project represents more than a new building. It reflects our commitment to keeping pace with the growth while protecting the people who call Hot Springs home. We are also making strong progress on our Sports Recreation Master Plan, a roadmap designed to modernize our parks and elevate Hot Springs as a regional destination for sports and outdoor recreation. The plan will shift the focus from simply maintaining 22 parks to creating a high-caliber destination for both residents and sports tourism. By prioritizing sports tourism, we are not just providing a place to play, we are creating an economic engine that invites the rest of our country to experience the city. The majestic anchor of Majestic Park is the crown jewel of Hot Springs sports tourism strategy. Named after the Major League spring training site that once hosted Babe Ruth and Jackie Robinson, this 5-field complex was purpose-built for the tournament circuit. One of Hot Springs' greatest advantages is that families who travel here for youth baseball don't just come to play, they come to experience the city. They fill our hotels, support our restaurants, and spend time enjoying our downtown. With the Sports Recreation Master Plan to guide our efforts for soccer, pickleball, and tennis, we aren't just building ball fields and courts. We're building an invitation for the rest of the country to see Hot Springs as the premier outdoor and athletic hub of the Mid-South. Another important milestone in our 2025 goals is the former St. Joseph Hospital site at 100 Whittington Avenue. The 400,000 square foot facility, most recently used as the Arkansas School for Math, Science, and the Arts, has been determined to be structurally and environmentally unfit for continued use. City staff has taken proactive steps to move this project forward by applying for federally funding through the EPA Brownfields program. This funding will allow for the safe removal of hazardous materials and proper remediation of the site. By securing and clearing this property, we are opening the door for future development. While final plans are still evaluated, our goal is clear: return this 3.4-acre site to productive use and support continued economic growth in our downtown corridor. Affordable housing remains one of the most important and most complex issues we face. The board's commitment and approach is about more than buildings. It is about stability, dignity, and ensuring every resident has a safe place to call home. We are shifting from reactive solutions to comprehensive housing strategy that honors our history while preparing for the future. Through the Community Development Block Grant Program, the city has secured more than $400,000 in fiscal year 2025 funding. These dollars are being used to address spot blight, remove unsafe structures, and convert vacant lots into ready-to-build sites for new homes. We are also leveraging our historic assets through a $750,000 Paul Bruin grant from the National Park Service. This funding allows us to rehabilitate historic vacant properties and bring them back online as affordable housing units. In partnership with the Hot Springs Housing Authority, we are working to maximize housing programs for our most vulnerable residents, including seniors and veterans, ensuring these efforts reach those who need them most. The recently completed update to the Hot Springs Development Code is the regulatory engine for our city's future. We have replaced complex, text-heavy regulations with illustrated standards. This makes it easier for developers and homeowners to understand exactly what is required of a project. To combat sprawl and make better use of existing infrastructure, the code is being adjusted to make it easier to build on vacant lots within the city limits, particularly in our older neighborhoods. We aren't just dreaming about 2040, we have rewritten the rules to make it happen. Our new development code removes the red tape for quality growth while ensuring that every project respects our historic character and our environment. The Community Resource Center, CRC, at 109 Hobson Avenue is the city's proactive answer to fragmented social services. By housing multiple agencies under one roof, we have created a one-stop shop that treats every resident with the dignity they deserve while moving them towards stability. The facility continues to serve as the primary emergency warming and cooling shelter, providing a safe haven during life-threatening weather. Others are taking notice of the innovative work done right here at our CRC. From being honored as a 2025 Trendsetter City by Arkansas Business to being selected as one of the elite recipients of the Arkansas Community Foundation's 50th anniversary grant. We aren't just doing this work for the accolades, but the recognition proves we are on the right track. Through the leadership of the city and dedicated nonprofits, the CRC ensures when our neighbors are in crisis, they aren't just found, they are supported. The Board of Directors set a 2025 goal to secure a dedicated city storage facility to better protect our assets, improve organization, and reduce long-term operational strain. This goal was successfully accomplished through the purchase of the former Weyerhaeuser properties located at 900 Whittington Avenue and 306 Walter Street. As part of this transition, Christmas decorations were relocated and now securely stored at 900 Whittington. City records were moved to 306 Walter Street on August 1st of 2025, improving both accessibility and preservation. Renovations have been underway to ensure both facilities meet operational needs. Improvements at 306 Walter Street included new garage doors, restroom and file area renovations, and installation of a new heating and air unit. Work at 900 Whittington is approximately 40% complete, including a new roof, new HVAC, updated electrical systems, new framing, and drywall. The plan is for the new facility to house the Parks Administration, Maintenance, and Trails Coordinator, the Traffic Division, our Stormwater Department, and 11 Planning Department inspectors. This will free space in the airport, Bill Edwards Center, Transportation Depot, and City Hall Annex. The Board of Directors established a 2025 goal to advance the Gulf of Basin project in order to meet the requirements outlined in the Department of Energy and Environment, their Division of Environmental Quality, under a consent administrative order for 2025 through 2030. This project represents a critical step in maintaining regulatory compliance and addressing long-term environmental and infrastructure needs within the Gulf of Basin drainage area. Throughout 2025, the city has worked to ensure the project remains aligned with CAO requirements and timelines while supporting overall public safety and environmental protection. We currently have $78 million in current projects to include a new Gulf of Pump Station, Davidson Drive wastewater treatment plant improvements, and the replacement of force mains and interceptors throughout the system. Moving to revenues, our financial health in 2025 was bolstered by the confidence of global giants and the sustained success of our local anchors. Hot Springs remains a premier destination, and nowhere is that more evident than our 2025 hospitality and gaming returns, but also our historic downtown. The Oaklawn impact remains a cornerstone of our economy. In 2025, Oaklawn generated $27.19 million in tax revenue, a 5.5 increase over the previous year. For our city budget, this specifically funneled over $5.3 million directly into the local coffers. Our hospitality tax receipts, lodging, and prepared food followed a similar upward trajectory, reaching $10.2 million through the end of the year. We reached a major milestone in 2025 with the opening of the Amazon Last Mile facility. This project has streamlined local commerce and ensured that Hot Springs is a vital link in the modern global supply chain. The private sector's confidence in our city has never been clearer. We are thrilled to welcome the development of the new Home Depot, a massive investment supporting our local construction boom. Simultaneously, Origami Sake, a pioneer in sustainable sake manufacturing, has expanded its footprint, utilizing our world-class water and Arkansas rice to create a net zero international success story right here in our backyard. To truly understand where we are, we have to look back to where we started. February 2014, the month of the Majestic Hotel fire, was a crossroads for Hot Springs. We chose the path of renewal, and the results over the last 12 years are nothing short of a renaissance for our downtown business district. Since 2014, 249 businesses has opened their doors downtown. There has also been 183 commercial property sales with total investment of over $228 million, moving historic assets back into the hands of visionaries. The most telling statistic of all isn't how many businesses opened, but how many stayed. Nationally, small business is a gamble. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that only 50% of businesses survive their first 5 years, and that number drops to roughly 35% by year 10. We defy the national average. 72% of those 249 businesses opened in 2014 are still in operation today. This isn't just luck. It is a testament to the loyalty of our residents, the passion of our business owners, and a visitor economy that keeps our sidewalks busy most year-round. Through Visit Hot Springs in 2025, we reminded the world why Hot Springs is the natural state's crown jewel. From the 22nd World's Shortest St. Patrick's Day Parade led by Valerie Bertinelli and Flavor Flav to the 34th Documentary Film Festival, our streets were alive with energy. Our sister city program with Hanamaki, Japan was named the best overall program in the United States for cities our size. We are proving that a small city in the Ouachitas can have a massive global footprint. We solidified our title as the dining capital of Arkansas during November's Feast Month, celebrating the local flavors that drive our $1 billion tourism economy. We are already gaining momentum for 2026, with Frommer's Travel Guides recently naming Hot Springs one of the best places to go in 2026. City sales tax revenues. Following the rapid, often volatile recovery years after COVID-19, 2025 represented a year of settled growth for citywide sales returns. While the numbers didn't jump, they held firm at record high levels. This indicates that the COVID bump, driven by stimulus and pent-up demand, has successfully transitioned into a permanent baseline of local economic activity. The city's 1.5% levy remains stable, with the 0.5% public safety earning $9.67 million and the 1% general fund levy raising $19.35 million. The ability to capture digital and streaming service revenue, often termed the Amazon effect, provides a more diversified and future-proof source. I am pleased to share a reserve general fund balance of $5.06 million, well exceeding the board's adopted fiscal policy of 16.5% of the approved budget, along with an unreserved balance of $37.7 million. Revenues are mixed when compared to prior year, some slightly over, some slightly under. However, they're leveling off at a record high. The revenue base remains strong for the coming year. In 2025, we didn't just talk about progress, we paved the way for it, literally. We made significant strides in improving our transportation network, focusing on longevity of our roadways and the accessibility of our neighborhoods. Through a disciplined and data-driven approach to infrastructure, we achieved the following. With a total 2025 program budget of $5.5 million, the city executed a comprehensive milling and paving strategy. These efforts not only improve the rideability of our streets, but also protect the underlying road base from water damage and premature failure. Milling operations successfully completed 12.6 miles of asphalt milling to prepare road surfaces and maintain proper drainage profiles. Asphalt paving laid 16.6 miles of new asphalt across 73 distinct city streets and street segments. This work spanned the city's various districts, ensuring that high-traffic arterials and residential connectors alike receive necessary life cycle renewals. Parallel to our roadway improvements, the city remains committed to creating a more walkable and ADA-compliant community. Sidewalk rehabilitation is a key component of our Complete Streets philosophy, ensuring safe passage for students, commuters, and recreationists. In 2025, we successfully improved 39,965 square feet of sidewalks. These upgrades focused on removing trip hazards, repairing cracked segments, and ensuring proper transitions at intersections. Beyond the asphalt, we secured a transformative $2.38 million federal RAISE grant. This funding is the spark for our multimodal trail network, which will soon connect our neighborhoods via new sidewalks and bike lanes along Belding Street and bridging the gap between Lincoln Street and Malvern Avenue. We will finally punch through to Malvern. We launched the Hot Springs Safety Action Plan, a data-driven initiative to eliminate roadway fatalities. By listening to your feedback on interactive safety maps, we are designing the future of our streets to be safer for drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians alike. Our police and fire departments are the backbone of this city. In 2025, we made historic investments in the men and women who run toward the danger when others run away. In the Hot Springs Police Department, we continued to attract top-tier talent. This year, we celebrated the graduation of several new officers from the Arkansas Law Enforcement Training Academy. Hot Springs Police Department remains at the forefront of modern law enforcement. We successfully implemented the 2021 through 2025 strategic plan, meeting key goals in transparency and community engagement. We also launched Project Safe Neighborhoods, using advanced analytics to target violent crime and keep our streets safe. In a move toward more compassionate policing, our officers are now certified in crisis intervention training. We are leading the region in de-escalation techniques, ensuring that mental health crises are met with the right resources at the right time. Since 2023, we have experienced the following reduction in crime statistics: theft by 45%, car theft by 36%, burglary 28%, breaking and entering 56%, property crimes overall decreased by 22.5%. Shots fired decreased 38%, and violent crime overall decreased by 6.5%. I congratulate our chief and our fellow officers on their commitment to achieving these results. In 2025 was a year of physical growth for the Hot Springs Fire Department. In April, we officially broke ground on the new Fire Station number 6 on First Security Way. This facility is a promise to our growing community that response times will remain world-class. Our training division graduated multiple in-house recruit classes, with new firefighters earning their Firefighter 1 and 2 certifications. We also implemented the Rapid Intervention Team, or RIT team, utilizing new fast boards and thermal imaging technology to ensure that if a firefighter is ever in trouble, their brothers and sisters are equipped to save them. Even as our city grows, our efficiency remains unmatched. In 2025, Hot Springs Fire Department maintained an average response time to structure fires of under 4 minutes and 30 seconds. That speed saves lives, and it is why our department remains one of the most respected in the state. As we look ahead, in 2026, we will continue to work on the board's goals and objectives. This includes the ongoing work in the Gulf Basin to meet the requirements of the CAO, continuing the work of aligning our codes with the 2040 Comprehensive Plan, implementing additional components of our affordable housing strategy, completion of the final renovations of the Community Resource Center, remediation and abatement work at the old hospital site, develop the implementation plan of the Sports Recreation Master Plan, and develop an airport terminal master plan for adoption by this board of directors. In conclusion, while we celebrate the wins of 2025, we know our work is never finished. We faced a tough first quarter in 2025 with adverse weather that impacted our sales tax revenue, but we remain fiscally responsible. Our 2026 budget is balanced, focused on our goals, and ready to fund the services you rely on. We are a city that honors its past but refuses to live in it. We are a city of hot springs and high hopes. It has been a privilege to serve our community as the city manager of Hot Springs, Arkansas. Thank you for your trust, your passion, and your commitment to this city. The best is truly yet to come. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Let's give Bill a round of applause. Job well done. We have a staff that supports you all along the way. Are there any questions of Bill from the city board?
I do want to thank Lance Spicer, Denny, Sheila, Karen, all of those, Courtney, and Katie, all of those that had a role in not only preparing the report tonight, but also for the work they do throughout the year. None of the things I mentioned would not be feasible without all 675 positions moving in the same direction and doing what we do best, serving those that we service. And it's an honor to be in public service, and I know all of our employees feel that same way. So again, thank you, Mayor.
Very nice. Thank you. This time we'll move on to Board of Directors announcements of upcoming events. Any director with an upcoming event they'd like to share? Director Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to bring up one event to share with everybody that's here tonight, maybe watching live on YouTube. The SCW Cup Live Pro Wrestling event to take place Saturday, February 28th at 7 p.m. It's a little bit outside of Hot Springs, but I know a lot of Hot Springs residents who might be interested in seeing some good live wrestling. This is at the Mountain Pine Gym, 199 3rd Avenue in Mountain Pine. This is professional wrestling at its finest. They claim, and they do, deliver that old school style entertainment for the whole family. If you're interested in this event, would like to purchase tickets, you can go to eventbrite.com. You can also get tickets at the door. Again, Saturday, February 28th at 7 p.m. I will say that they host this quite regular out there, and my kids and I attended one of those not too long ago, and it was worth the drive. It was worth the time. It was worth the money to go see. They've got concession stands, and the wrestlers interact with the fans that were there too. So my son got into it and had a ball, and his buddies did too.
Is it wrestling or wrestling?
This is a combination of, there are some that wrestle and then others that wrestle there. But he got to meet some characters that night, and he got his picture, and we got things signed, and of course, you got to get a T-shirt and all that good stuff too. But it was a good event. Thank you, Mayor.
Very nice. Other announcements? Director Dobbs Smith?
The annual Sportsman's Banquet will be held on, Saturday, the 28th. The tickets are $20. You can get them at Zeffy.com, and it doesn't say that in this little write-up, but I understand there's going to be all kinds of strange things to eat, like any kind of, not just deer and turkey, but possums and rattlesnakes and
And where is this
I don't
held?
know about-
What's the location?
It's at 2350 Central Avenue. That's First Baptist Church and the Family Life Center, or in the big gym. Yeah.
Very nice. And what's the date again?
Saturday, February 28th from 2 to 5. There's also prizes and all kinds of things going on. It's not really my thing, but there's a lot of people out there that enjoy that.
Director Webb?
Yeah, I was just going to say, to follow up with what Director Dobbs Smith was sharing with everybody, that same day is the wrestling. So stop there, grab a bite to eat, head on out to the wrestling event and watch some wrestling.
Yeah, I heard them describing what they were eating, and it's like, nope, no chicken.
All right, other announcements. Director Holliday,
Thank you. Hard
can
to
you top that?
I hope
dare.
so. This has nothing to do with possums and rattlesnakes, I don't think. But I did want to remind everyone, if you can't tell by all the signs in around our community, early voting has started. It began today, and voting will go through March 3rd. If you go to the Election Commission tomorrow, you'll see me. I'll be working the polls. But if you want any information about the election here in our community, you can go to garlandcountyvote.org. If you're unsure whether or not you're registered to vote, if you go to garlandcountyvote.org, you can scroll down on their homepage and click on Voter View. You can check your voter registration, see if you're registered, optional, Republican or Democrat, because since this is a primary election, that will dictate which ballots you may have access to. But please do your research, do your duty, our right, and go take part in something that not everybody in the world gets to do. And please go vote. Primaries are important. We have a Supreme Court justice seat up as well. So definitely take some time, go vote. Again, if you have any questions about how to do that or where to go, garlandcountyvote.org.
Very good, thank you. Any additional announcements? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. These are of a routine nature, do not merit individual discussion, so I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Director Webb, seconded by Director Garcia. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is adopted. Moving on to old business, we have ordinance O-26-04, and I'll entertain a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title.
So moved.
Director
Second.
Trustees, who made the second? Director Dobbs Smith. I got a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Please read by title.
Ordinance O-26-04, an ordinance amending Chapter 7 of Title 10 of the Hot Springs Code pertaining to Hot Springs Paid Parking Program and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Director Trustee, seconded by
Second.
Director Dobbs. And Deputy City Manager Lance Spicer will provide the staff report. Welcome.
Yes, good evening. In your packet, now there were two ordinances. You know, your first ordinance was the one that was actually brought forth, I think, on January the 20th. And then that particular item, excuse me, was tabled until today's meeting. And during that time, staff did hold a series of work sessions with the board. And really, we kind of heard from the board really trying to simplify the parking program, the rates and the zones itself. So that's what option B ordinance is about. So I'll speak to option B. I think we I don't know if the city attorney wants to.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Mayor, if I'll weigh in at this point. Lance is prepared to speak on this option B that's being presented to you this evening. If you want to consider that, I would suggest that you move to substitute option B for what was previously provided to the board.
A motion to substitute option B for what was previously provided to the board in January.
Motion.
Second.
We have a second by Director Holliday. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Both same sign.
So what's on the floor has been amended to be option B.
Did we need a voice vote on that, or is this?
No, it's motion
Roll
to,
call.
motion to amend.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, as I stated previously, really what we were looking to do was to offer a simple and predictable parking system for the business community and our visitors. So that's what the ordinance that I'll speak about and some of the suggested changes that we'll be bringing forth. Hot Springs, the parking program, really what we're looking to do is to provide a strategic realignment to the program. Previously it did have a tiered rate system, which was a little bit cumbersome for users, and also our rate zones were spread pretty far and wide, so it was not the easiest system to use. So really what we look to do is to try to simplify the system and provide a little bit more continuity, not only for the business community, but for the end users as well. So really what we look to do is try to come up with that right pricing for the program itself, and in doing so, we are proposing a simple, basically two rates for the parking program. The priority zone is a $5 per hour of flat per hour rate. That's a 4-hour maximum time period. Now that is only along Central Avenue. So that's from on the north end, Whittington and Park, as you head south on Central to its intersection with Olive Street. So pretty straightforward. In your board packet and on the posted board packet, there was a map. So that is the red shaded area that is on your board, in your board agenda packet. Next up is the secondary zone, and that is a $2 per hour zone, and there is no time limitations on that. And really what the secondary zone is, that is our yellow shading area. So that's basically the various surface lots that we have and the Exchange Street parking garage, and really one cross street there, Bridge Street and Malvern fall into that secondary zone. So really tried to as I said earlier, trying to simplify the rate zones, just have two rate zones. And additionally, we're trying to provide the right tools for the parking system. And really what we wanted to do was to bring the system to a little bit more of a manageable size, and doing so, releasing some of those streets that were previously part of the paid parking program and putting those into those blue shaded zones, which are unrestricted, unregulated, more or less. Those are free parking zones. In total, we did approximately 340 spaces in those zones that we were taking from the paid program, putting them into the unregulated program. And additionally, that will take the Ouachita zone, which people may be accustomed to. It removes the entire Ouachita zone. So really just two rate zones, primary, priority, and secondary zones. And in doing that's where you open up those other spaces for free parking. And next up, talking about the right enforcement, really by making the rate zones a little bit smaller is going to make it a little bit more consistent and manageable for our police department enforcement officers to do a little bit more of a consistent enforcement. But one of the things that's additional in the enforcement piece is we are recommending to do away with the employee permit. And the employee permit coincides with releasing more of those unregulated spaces for those users. Now, the blue shading spaces for the employees, that does not guarantee them those spaces, but at the same time it does open up a good number of spaces for employees to possibly use. Really kind of strategically, they're kind of located throughout the downtown area, not on Central, not on the surface lots, but a lot of those side streets in parallels to Central. So it does open up quite a bit of parking there. So we've talked about the rate zones and the unregulated rate zones. Really, the only permit that we're recommending to carry forward, as far as we have construction permits, we had employee, we're recommending to do away with the employee, looking to continue the resident permit. Really, I think we had approximately 7 or 8 residents downtown that were eligible for that residential permit. In doing so, recommending a fee of $480, and they could use that in either the priority or the secondary zone, and that is limited to 1 per eligible address. So 1 per eligible address in that residential permit zone. And all told, the various changes that we're proposing, as I said earlier, really trying to simplify things and make it much more manageable, but also much more consistent, not only for the business community, but also for the users of the system. And that is one of the things why we're looking in bringing forth Park Mobile, which is also a parking provider. They are a mobile parking app. A lot of people utilize those. They have a few lots here in the downtown area that utilize Park Mobile, and that's something that we would be bringing forth to the board really once we kind of settle on or solidify this overall parking program, to bring forth that contract for consideration. But with that, I'll entertain any questions you may have, and I know you've got several folks here to speak, so I'll kind of yield my time.
Any questions of Mr. Spicer, Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. Just follow up on your comments regarding Park Mobile, and you said to bring that to the board later. Is there an estimated time?
Really, once and if we settle on some parking rates, that's what we would, once we have that set, we would then bring forth that Park Mobile proposal for the board's consideration, so that we can do the programming that goes along with it and have that all kind of done at once.
A timeline?
Next meeting, we've reviewed the contract. It's pretty straightforward.
So you think the first meeting in March?
Yes.
All right. Director Trustee?
Thank you, Mayor. Lance, you said by making some of the spaces that were previously paid spots now free, that added about 340 plus or minus spaces. What does that bring the total free spaces to downtown?
Free spaces, really, if you count, if you go down Convention, you add some of the spaces that are around the transportation depot, really looking in that 600, probably possibly even more than that, free spaces that are public spaces that are not necessarily immediately in the downtown, but are very close to our downtown corridor.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Lance, at the work session that we had not too long ago over paid parking, I requested that we do some surveys. I don't think that was picked up or a consensus of the whole board, and that survey, to go back out to downtown business owners and employees. But I do understand that you did have a meeting with downtown merchants. Do you have anything to share as to the outcome of that meeting, their, I guess, collective response to this new and revised paid parking plan?
Yes, certainly. Myself and the city manager did speak to the downtown merchants group last week, presented this particular rate zone plan, more so, and also really highlighted on the employee permit portion. And in doing so, I know that you do have a representative of the merchants here to speak on some correspondence that they sent you, so I don't want to speak on their behalf. But all told, we did speak and visit with the merchants. We have utilized pretty good communications with them throughout the process. We did send out a survey to those employee permit holders to really determine from a pricing perspective and some other pretty simplistic questions, see how things were going. But we can certainly continue that going forward to make sure that anything with the employees and the businesses downtown, that we make sure that we stay lockstep with them.
Were there any suggestions that were made at the meeting, or are you saying you want to reserve that for the representative that's here?
I would probably reserve that for
Okay.
Alan.
Did any new survey go out post the, I guess, release of the revised paid parking, and what's in front of us tonight?
We did not. I didn't want to hazard a guess on exactly how this program would land. So it would be pretty wide ranging if we were to send out a questionnaire to them. So I wanted to kind of possibly wait until we see what the board's direction is, and we could possibly do that if that's something that is the board's pleasure.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Director Holliday?
Thank you. In our packet, there was essentially a P&L based on rate B. And so my one question is, at the top, it says based on the proposed rate structure that we could look at a revenue estimate of 1.2 million. Is that before or after the additional spaces that a new parking deck would create?
That is before.
Okay.
So that particular revenue figure did not consider or contemplate an additional parking garage, 300, 400 spaces that would charge a fee. And that's really what you're looking at there, is that initial debt service for that, for constructing a parking facility, not the revenue to go with it.
Okay, yeah, because it's, in looking at the bottom line, I saw that the debt service was there, but just wanted to, because if this is what we were going for long-term over 30, it's a very different conversation, but knowing there's additional revenue that'll come in after the construction, that's helpful. Thank you.
Additional questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to those who have signed up. We'll begin with Mr. Paul Hayes. Mr. Hayes, please come forward and restate your name, address, and district, please, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm not real sure what the district number is. My name is Paul Hayes. My address is 1349 7th Street. And I'm not here to speak on behalf of the downtown employees or merchants, but just those of us who live in the city and go downtown are used to and spend money when there isn't a rabid tourist season. I have a few observations I'd like to offer. First is, it appears, and some of this may be things I've heard in error, that one of the primary reasons this all came about was concern about downtown employees and the amount of parking they do, and the payment seemed to be directed at behavior modification. Every night I pray we never have an increase in auto thefts in Hot Springs, because applying the same logic you have, if we have too many car thefts, you guys would probably vote to take away all of our cars. It's the same principle. You're applying something to everybody to modify behavior of a smaller group. Second thing is, I attended Director Webb's town hall last week. There were probably, I would guess, 50 people there. They asked for a show of hands on how many people that were attending that as residents were in favor of an additional parking garage. One hand went up. Third thing is, I don't think you've explored all the other funding operations you could besides paid parking to pay for a garage if you decide a garage is necessary. I mean, if they do naming rights on stadiums, why don't you see how much money can be raised with a LeVar Law Memorial parking garage? Frankly, I think you ought to send an invoice to the Benton Chamber of Commerce, because between the cost of paid parking and the hamburger tax, it's far more effective to go eat in restaurants there instead of here. And you're not only losing your paid parking, you're losing your regular sales tax with the decisions you've made. And the next thing is the company you've selected for the apps. You know, if hospitals are getting hacked and everybody's credit card data is stolen, that's a far more sophisticated organization than some parking kiosk company. And if I had to bet a kidney one way or the other and didn't want to wake up in a bathtub full of ice, I'd bet none of you or any of the staff vetted how well they protect my credit card. There are mechanisms where you can stick a credit card in a meter if it comes to having to pay to park. don't ask me to put an app on file with God knows who that I know nothing about. That's just wrong. The next thing is, maybe not this election that's coming up, but I would anticipate if you continue with this instead of changing your action tonight to just flat out eliminating paid parking, the next few elections are going to be very interesting because they're going to be the simplest ones for someone to run. All they're going to have to do is put your picture, in the words paid parking advocate, and say instead vote for. And that's about all I got to say.
Any questions of the speaker? We appreciate you coming out this evening.
Yeah, but that's the view from the right field bleacher, cheap seats, and we may be a little more blunt than all the nice people. But the last thing I will say, because I've never been in government, but I was in companies of different sizes for over 50 years before I retired, some as big as Fortune 25 companies. And frankly, with the nature of decision-making that's been applied to this so far, if this was a business instead of a government body, at the very least you would all already have coaching, and in all likelihood probably random drug testing.
Moving on, Mr. Alan Spraggins, Downtown Merchant Association.
Good evening. So we sent y'all a letter the other day. I've got a copy of it. Can we pass it around to each of y'all? Would you like it?
I have mine.
You have it? Okay. We do have an addition to the back, and I'll leave it here later for all of the businesses that signed on to it. So Director Webb, I will say first, and I'll be really quick on reading this, but City Manager, Deputy City Manager, y'all do a great job coming to the meetings, and y'all are always there to answer any questions that the businesses have. So kind of what you asked earlier, after that meeting, what we did is said, hey, okay, we'll send an email out to all of the members. Any questions or thoughts or comments y'all have, send it back to us. We'll compile a letter and send it in. So let me read it and then answer any questions after. On behalf of the Downtown Association, we respectfully submit our continued concerns regarding the implementation of paid parking for downtown employees. We appreciate the city's willingness to collaborate and the recent decision to convert approximately 300 spaces to free parking. However, we remain firmly opposed to requiring downtown employees to pay for parking as a condition of working in our city's primary tourism and economic district. The economic impact on small businesses. Since the initiation of the paid parking system in February of last year, most downtown business owners have reported a decline in sales, with some experiencing up to 40% compared to prior years. While multiple economic factors may influence consumer behavior, the consistent feedback from business owners and customer points to parking costs, complexity, and time limitations are their major deterrents. Downtown Hot Springs is the primary economic engine and visitor destination, welcoming millions of visitors annually. Policies that discourage employees and customers from accessing this area directly impact the city's overall economic health. The cost burden to employees, with the current structure, it places a significant financial burden on workers. A $2 per hour for a full-time employee working 40 hours per week would pay approximately $80 a week, $320 per month, or $3,840 annually. For many hospitality, retail, and service workers, this represents the equivalent of a monthly utility payment or several weeks' wages. Expecting employees to pay thousands of dollars annually to simply report to work is neither equitable nor sustainable for the workforce retention. Hot Springs workforce is also car dependent. Unlike major metropolitan areas, our city lacks robust public transit, safe bike infrastructure, or widespread walkable housing options near downtown. Most employees commute from surrounding areas where driving is the only reliable transportation option. So when you compare it to the other tourist cities, it kind of falls in line like this. Branson, Missouri has free employee parking lots and seasonal shuttles for downtown and entertainment district workers. Gatlinburg designated employee parking areas outside prime visitor zones, often free or subsidized. Eureka Springs has low-cost or free employee permits with shuttle access. Fredericksburg, Texas, free peripheral employee parking to preserve prime visitor spaces while supporting local businesses. And Savannah, Georgia has reduced rate employee permits and long-term parking options separate from higher turnover tourist spaces. In these destinations, the policy priority is clear: protect the prime visitor parking while ensuring employees can work downtown without financial hardships. So we support paid parking on most premium spaces along Central Avenue. However, the proposed structure of $5 an hour and a 4-hour minimum is significantly higher than comparable tourist markets and discourages longer visits to shops, restaurants, and attractions. Successful tourism districts rely on encouraging visitors to stay longer, explore more, and spend more. Higher hourly rates combined with strict time limits create the opposite effect. As of the most recent available data, Downtown Hot Springs supports approximately 867 full-time employees with 225 part-time employees. These individuals serve the face of our hospitality economy. When parking costs become a barrier to employment, businesses face increased turnover, staffing shortages, and rising operation costs, all of which ultimately affect the visitor experience. Our position is we respectfully request the following: no paid parking requirements for downtown employees, continue or expand free or designated employee parking, paid parking maintained only in premium visitor spaces on Central, and the reevaluation of the rates on Central Avenue to help better support customers' dwell time and spending. So in conclusion, we recognize the city's intention to improve access and manage parking demand. However, the data and direct business feedback from the past year demonstrate that the current system is placing an unsustainable burden on the very workforce that businesses that drive Hot Springs tourism economy. Downtown employees should not have to pay to park to work. Supporting them is not only a workforce issue, it's an economic development strategy that's essential to long-term success of the downtown Hot Springs. We appreciate your continued collaboration and look forward to working together on solutions that support visitors, businesses, employees, and the future of downtown. The Board of the Downtown Association.
Very good, thank you. Do we have any questions of Mrs. Sproggins? Director Webb?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. That's the voice of the people. That's the voice of the people. I appreciate you sharing this with us tonight. Alan, can you share with us about how many business owners this includes? I saw the numbers for employees, part-time and full-time, but about how many were in collaborative efforts for this letter?
So there's about 70 businesses in the Downtown Association. And we reached out to a lot of them, a lot of different, maybe a restaurant to a retail to try to get it all, from 100 all the way down to the Landmark Building. And in the latest letter I have here, there's about 20 that signed it. Now, there's probably 5 or 6 more that we actually talked to after we printed it. The letters that I sent y'all, we didn't have the complete list yet. So I would say probably 25 to 30 that we discussed, talked to. And most of everyone, that what we tried to do was when we sent it out to talk is let's get a collaborative answer. If there's an outlier out there, we're not going to add that in. But what do the downtown businesses really feel and have their opinion?
Thank you.
Any additional questions of Mrs. Sproggins? Director Holliday?
Thank you. And this is actually a little bit to Lance as well. In all of the surveys and conversations that you guys had, did you actually ask where people were parking to get to which places of employment? So we know what's actually being impacted, because I agree, requiring an employee to pay to park is inappropriate, but I don't feel that we're requiring employees to pay to park, especially with opening up more spaces. So where is it that the employees are parking at the moment that they will no longer have access to from a distance standpoint? Do either of you know?
Audrey, I'm going to turn to you on this one.
A lot of employees will park on Exchange Street.
Audrey, you can come up to the microphone.
She's saying a lot of them will park on Exchange Street and in the parking garage.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you-
I think the fear that I have, like, I'm open till 8 p.m. So our employees having to walk even to Prospect or down further in the other directions late at night, it's really not that safe. So we're worried about safety. So when you're saying, say on Exchange Street or the parking garage is $2 an hour, I would assume that for my employees. I would not have them walk that far away.
Again, the current plan that's on the table right now, Exchange Street is not, the parking garage is $2, but the street and the little lot by Grateful Head is free.
Is that, I mean, the other day I thought that was included.
No.
Yeah.
The map, I think that Harmony had up earlier, basically any of the side streets, so Exchange Street, the small parking lot that Mayor's referring to next to the parking garage, Reserve, Spring, Convention, Prospect, those are all unregulated. So that's where
So
that,
it's just the parking garage?
correct.
Okay.
And I know the parking garage is heavily used by employees, but I do think I appreciate what staff has done so far in trying to move some of that unregulated in, because for those in the middle of the Bathhouse Row Central Avenue stretch, a lot of the unregulated is further away. And I appreciate what you're saying, especially if it's after dark in the winter. But that's why I wanted to know, how many employees are we looking at that literally do not have access to unregulated parking in the new map? I don't know how well you guys can see that from where you are. But it has moved in significantly compared to what it was.
Sure. And that's an answer I don't have on that, what the new map is with the employees.
Okay. Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
Any additional questions of Alan? I'll just make a comment, Alan. Your letter, which I do greatly appreciate it kind of mixes a little bit of the sales and parking. Sales and customers not wanting to pay for parking, and then employee parking. And I think those are two very different topics. I don't see open slots on Central Avenue. So those slots, at least on every day but Sunday, are people who are there to shop or dine or do some activity, and they're paying for parking.
Sure.
So, and I think then we can maybe argue as we go further out on some of the $2 parking, whatnot, what they're trying to do. They may be walking the mountain for all I know. So, and then the employee parking is something else. Good, bad, or indifferent. I operate a business, and while my sales growth, revenue growth in 2025, it did exceed 2024, but not material, And but what I've experienced, and perhaps others, is that the cost of doing business is higher. My business insurance went up about 60% in 25 from 24, and I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
It's just all the catastrophic events, weather events across the country. The cost of insurance is up. They're going to get their money some way, and they got a whole bunch more from my little operation. So, and food costs are up, and sometimes you can transfer it, sometimes you can't.
Sure.
And how quickly you can adjust, monitor and adjust. So there's so many factors that go into the sales side, but I don't see that paid parking is keeping people away from downtown to shop.
So if I may, and again, when we send it to a group, we try to collaborate there to a general consensus. The main issue that the business owners have downtown are the employees paying the park.
Okay, that's good.
That is the main portion of it.
And what I like about the plan that's been developed is that Yeah, depending on where your store or shop is, you know, obviously if you're on the 100 or 200 block, you're not going to want to park on Exchange Street. And if you're down in the area of Ouachita in Central, you're not going to want to park on Exchange Street. You know, the area there on Ouachita that we've now opened up, and of course there's stripes that, you know, I had you guys put years ago on Market Street, and there's items behind on Broadway or whatnot. So there's areas right there within a block or two of that section, and there's little spots all along the way that, depending on where you work, you're going to have access to unregulated parking. And so what we'll need to be very watchful for is that unregulated area being absorbed by non-employees.
Sure.
And then, you know, we are looking at some other options for acquiring property for employee parking. So I just wanted to make it the point, I really see a difference between the sales side and parking by visitors versus, you know, the employee parking. I'm very, very sensitive to the employee parking.
Yeah.
And I have no parking. Okay, there's not one parking spot on Bathhouse Row.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my office is in the old Regent building. I have parking. I don't pay for it, so I'm a moot in the whole conversation when it comes to business owners downtown. So we came as a representation of all of them.
Yeah, I have to pay for, I mean, I have to lease space for the overnight guests, and I have to pay people to run to get the cars, you know, so I get it. I get all that. So, are there any other questions, Director Dobbs-Smith?
Mr. Spraggins, when in your letter you referenced, or in the letter that was presented to us, you referenced several other tourist areas where there were remote parking provided by, I'm assuming by the city. Those cities provide that. And then, so my question would be, there are costs associated with the parking garage. I have been out of the downtown area with my business for about the length of time that the parking garage was there. We overlapped about 3 years. And so we had no parking deck at one time, and you did have to pay when it was first open. But I guess my question for the city manager would be, if there is a cost associated, there's bathrooms, there's elevators, there's maintenance, lights, insurance, those things, which would be more cost-effective, providing a remote lot? We'd have to look at that, or letting the employees park in the parking deck. I mean, back when we first opened it, we had a pass. You bought a monthly pass, and it was reasonable. I can't remember what it was, but I purchased them for my employees. Not every employee, but the number of employee I average on a particular day. We didn't keep 6 people on one day, but we had 6 people. So would it, and to the mayor's point, if you're in the 100 block, you're probably not parking in the parking deck. If you're way on the 900 block or the 1,000 block, you're not parking in that parking deck. So that's, in the big scheme of things, how important is that? Is it just a handful of people there, or would it be more cost effective to go ahead and let them park there and not provide the remote lot? I mean, the transportation plaza was designed for that reason. I mean, when we built the transportation plaza, when we took over the old sawmill depot, that was supposed to be, we had trolleys that ran, and that was kind of supposed to be a remote lot. People would park there like they do in Eureka Springs. So I guess my question is, do you think that the people who signed the letter wanting the free parking, would they agree to park remotely? And if they do agree to park remotely, would it cost the city more money to provide that, or to let them park in the parking deck? Because I can't see that being all 800 employees parking in the parking deck.
Exactly.
I mean, it's going to be the ones in the probably 300, 400, 500 block. It's
Well,
just a thought.
you know-
You don't have to answer it right now.
You know, we are looking at an additional lot to expand the inventory of what could be employee parking. We have not made it to that point of negotiation. We're doing some appraisals on that lot to try to add to that inventory. We do have expenses at the parking deck. We just put another elevator in there this past year. But, you know, the cleaning, the servicing, the depreciation on building that particular one. Now, depreciation's not really a cash, you know, issue, but we do have expenses, I'd say a couple $100,000 annually on that. It would be nice to recoup those in some manner, whether that's a different lot, paid lot, or, you know, paid parking downtown. But, you know, we don't have the cost of that.
Just a thought to think about.
And
We're working through it.
what you said there is and I'm, again, speaking for them, we're open to having those conversations to find where's the common ground in there. You asked about the numbers. We looked at some studies. New York City, which is the highest cost of living in the U.S., compare that to what the employees make here. It costs them about 7% to park there, where Hot Springs is almost 12% of their salary to park for downtown, looking at the cost of it. So, I mean, New York is not a tourist-based town, you know, I mean, and we are. So that's kind of where this whole conversation came from, was the cost of what the employees would have to park. We're not opposed to working out an agreement. We just don't have an agreement. That makes sense.
I will say that, you know, from my readings and viewing, you know, financial or investment, you know, news channels, you know, the economy, there is a subtle shifting in the economy right now, and things are not as robust as what they have been. Some of the car loan and credit card delinquencies are slowly creeping up, and so, you know, to the degree that consumers are pulling back a little bit, that might have something to say about you know, where individual store sales are coming from. I don't know their individual businesses and numbers, but like I say, I only know what I've experienced at my shop, and you know, this past weekend our restaurant had probably the best 3 days consecutive of any 3 days since we've been open, and it was raining cats and dogs Saturday, or continuous rain. Saturday had parking, paid parking up until 6 o'clock, and Friday night was a nice night, and you know, but paid parking till 6 o'clock, and Sunday was free parking, and an okay day, I guess. I can't remember that, but you know, the visitors and the locals, and we had both, you know, they will make the effort to come downtown and participate. So, but I do watch the economy, and you know, for restaurants, you don't have to listen to me. If you run a restaurant, you know your beef prices are going up. So, you know, that's all very. It hits people all up and down the line. So, any other questions of Alan or Audrey? Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan, if you want to give Lance those signatures.
Elmer Beard, Reverend Beard, please come forward and restate your name and address, please.
My name is Elmer Beard of 202 Henry Street, Hot Springs National Park, Arkansas. I'm on the agenda tonight, if I understand it clearly, to be opposed to any free parking in the area of Market Street and Central Avenue at the historic Triangle for a purpose that has been a part of the record of National Association Advancement of Colored People, although I don't represent them necessarily at this point. But I have a file since 2001 where I came before this august body requesting an explanation of the triangle, the Confederate triangle, and the history that it had there. And I did get a response, and I have that response circulated to this august body of sisters and brothers, and I have a copy of the letter that the city manager sent to me after that. And any efforts to have free parking in that area, I would be opposed to it until Christ returns. Because only when Christ returns will there be no more discrimination, racism about anything. Not only the triangle at Confederate Square, the parking area there should always be the most expensive in the city of Hot Springs to help erase the history that that triangle has. I believe if your brothers and sisters knew more about it, not as much as I know, that you would be in favor of very expensive parking there and would discourage it. I represented a segment of the community where we disdained free parking in that area, regardless to the other price of parking in the city of Hot Springs. Please, please, be considerate. If we have free parking in that area and everybody else has to pay, the result of that free parking would not be good. That would create some consequences that I would not like to have for my city. Because I love it as much as you do, have served it longer than you have, and I want it to be a community continuously where people are happy to come. Not a segment of the city not wanting to come and sharing the story about the triangle and what it has done and not done in the past, and knowing what happened, how it got there in 1954. If it sounds like I'm rambling now, I'm talking about the Board of Education, Topeka, Kansas. Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas in 1954. In 1953, we had this Confederate statue and this Confederate triangle built there. You know the history. If you don't, I'll share it with you when I have more time than I have now. We don't want to turn back to that to the extent that we make it easy for it to be seen. If you ask me questions about that, I'd be glad to share it with you at some time, because I have more information than time will allow me to share with you in the disdaining of free parking in that area. How else can I say it?
Do we have any questions for Mr. Beard? Hearing none, thank you.
If I have some more time left, I'd like to use it. I'm
No,
looking here.
you just zeroed out.
Zeroed out. I like to give myself an amen on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles Miller?
We were just here to support.
Okay, thank you. Winfrey Miller?
Oh, the same.
Okay, thank you. So, is there anybody else that wanted to come forward and speak on this issue that might not have had a chance to sign up? Hearing none, we'll have discussion amongst directors. Any discussion? Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I would like to move to replace the Hot Springs Paid Parking Program Ordinance 6510 as codified 1072 to Section 1. All city paid parking shall be removed and all city parking shall be free through 2026. The next item, an advisory committee shall be appointed by the city manager that includes members of the Downtown Merchants Association, downtown employees, a resident of downtown, and an at-large city resident to work with staff to develop a further recommendation for a paid parking plan or to eliminate paid parking, with the recommendation to be presented to the Board of Directors in mid-October work session for adoption consideration for 2027 implementation, and include the emergency clause. And if there's a second, I would like to speak to that.
Second.
Do you have a motion and a second? Discussion?
I would like to speak to that because we keep coming back here with a patch, and I keep getting complaints with the kiosk, the parking app, and we had a parking advisory committee that recommended this study and that we needed additional parking, recommended a parking garage, and that we would have to implement paid parking to do so. However, when that committee was disbanded, and we've been working on this parking plan, but we did not appear to have involved all the stakeholders with this not having agreement with the downtown merchants, the downtown employees, other city residents. And I continue, not just from business owners and downtown employees, but from residents across the city. And I want us to achieve fairness, have business facilitation, and our cost recovery. But I believe at this time we need to take a pause, get everybody back to the table, and seriously work together to bring back something that we won't have 100%, but if we get buy-in from majority, it will be more successful. We will have this park mobile is what everyone is used to using at other cities. If we have a contract that's ready to come back, it still has to have programming. So I don't know how far the timeline is down the road before everything would be programmed, and what those costs associated, or what we're going to save, or what additional costs. It's been mentioned that the economy is not as robust as it could be, but that is even more reason to take a pause. We have the season coming now with the spring break starting. That's a important tourist time here in Hot Springs, and we then go right into the busier market from that through the summer. I would really appreciate it if we could step back. I've in my previous career learned lessons. Sometimes we have to cut our losses to take a step back in order to get things in line to do the right thing.
Additional comments of Director Holliday?
So I agree that I think having a committee to look at things as they come, and having some stakeholders more officially at the table, I think would be really positive. I am not for pausing it or getting rid of it at the moment. One, because we have infrastructure that we have invested in that I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would assume have not paid for themselves, and we're in contracts that I assume we're still going to be paying out monthly. So I don't think it is in our best business and fiscal interest at the moment to just stop it until October. However, I think I'm going to assume where you're coming from based on what everyone has said. Bringing people officially to the table to actually look at the numbers as they come in, being able to answer my question as to where people are walking from, like how many people really feel that they're walking an unsafe distance, because that's data that we can work with, and continuing to curate this program so it works best for everybody. I think stopping it will just further add even more confusion. I think that's been part of the problem so far, is that we created a program based on some assumptions that may not have been completely accurate, which is why we've had to change it. It's anything that's complicated is going to have to be adjusted if we're doing our job well. So while I am absolutely for creating the committee, and I think that could be incredibly helpful, I will say I'm not for getting rid of the program at the moment, at least not even entertaining it until we really know what that financial impact is going to be with respect to the contracts that we have in place.
Let me say that, again, being downtown as much as I am, Sunday is a very different day downtown than any other day of the week, because it's free parking. I get down at about 6:45. I don't park on Central Avenue. I park in the lot that I pay for. But that being said, when I do drive, when I do walk to my place of business, there are other employees in the downtown area that park on Central and walk across the street or wherever whatever direction they have to go. And then I have employees, and I can't control it because it's free parking. And I have employees that work, 12-hour days on Saturday and Sunday. That car is not moving. And nobody's getting a nickel off the occupants who walked out of that car. I mean, they're employees and they're working. And they're going to, before we introduce paid parking, some shop owners would come out and communicate with some of the staff that I employed. And I really try to encourage the staff, don't park on Central, just go over to the parking garage. Well, it's free, I'm entitled to it, and then they get into it with a shop owner because for 8 hours their vehicle's in front and that spot's not available for anybody right there. And so, eliminating, paid parking and allowing, everybody and their brother to park on Central Avenue, whether you're, if you're an employee, you talk about 800 employees and 250 or 70 part-time, you have no parking in theory. If you're by the same token of, you're going to eat it up with people who are working and not those who are trying. I always say, who are we trying to serve here? We can serve both, but we can't serve the visitor, by taking away, parking where it's convenient for them. Then they will drive through and not stop. Additional comments or on their motion? Hearing none. Oh, Director Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. Following the town hall that I had Thursday last week, we did have a great attendance at the town hall. So I want to do a shout out to those of you who were in attendance there. I want to shout out too to those who, following that town hall, took time out of your busy schedule to respond to just some follow-up feedback that I requested, which included all of the attachments on this particular issue, because I will tell you that town hall consisted of a lot of city issues, county issues that are happening here in Hot Springs and Garland County, but the one that took up the most time of that evening was this very issue that we're visiting on here tonight. And I would say at the extent to probably close to 90 minutes. It is true that at that meeting I did try to gauge those that were in the audience to see who is in favor of a parking garage, and in one hand out of approximately 50 to 60 went up. I did hear after the meeting, maybe you could have phrased it different, and to that question I said, how? And that person said, ask who wants a parking garage and versus who wants to pay for a parking garage. That might yield some different results, but that data I don't have because those questions never came out. I want to just share with you a few, and I got many, lots of responses. I don't have, or I don't think we want to spend too much time going over every one of those responses. So I just have with me a few that I want to share with you. This is from a constituent, lives here in Hot Springs, works close to downtown. And let me read to you what he says. For my lunch, I like to go downtown to eat. I am about a 10-minute walk away from downtown, so all in, just walking alone is about a 20-minute time venture. I haven't got 20 minutes to walk, so in that case I want to drive to cut down my time. Just to get something downtown, like a sandwich for example, is on average about $14 to $20 just for the meal alone. If I add another $5 for parking, which is what I would need to do to park close enough to the restaurant to get my sandwich, that now takes my total to $20. That's too much for me. That essentially is what this person says. Another one, regarding downtown parking, employees of downtown businesses and government should be free. Employees should not have to pay to go to work. Without any downtown employees, would there even be any downtown hot springs at all? I could go on, and there are several responses that, for the most part, mirror those two that I just shared with you. I think what we've got to do here is we've got to be mindful of who downtown parking affects the most. And I think when we give ourselves that question, we find that it affects us the most. Us meaning locals, us meaning employers, us meaning employees. The numbers that were shared with us earlier from the Downtown Merchants Association, I think you in some cases do have to attribute somewhat of the business revenue decline to the paid parking that's coming downtown. Because for those who consider how much it costs to park downtown, if they're able to get something similar to what they could get it downtown at another area, either in the city or outside of the city, but at no cost to park, why wouldn't that person go there? The essential overhead cost is probably going to be a little bit lower. So the 12% of the income of the employees, I heard that number, in comparison to 7% of an employee's salary all the way in New York City. I don't think we want to do that to our employees. I think what we want to do is encourage people to work downtown. And I don't think having at least this current makeup of the plan, which I will say is in a lot better shape than it was when we started. And it is tough to do what our city manager is doing, what our deputy city manager is doing. This is a big undertaking, and it's a big deal for a lot of people. It isn't something to take lightly, and I definitely know that you haven't done that. You've tried to be as compromisable and as open-minded to what everybody on this board is saying as you possibly can. And so regardless of what I say in opposition of this current plan, I want you to hear that from me. But I think what Director Garcia is bringing up is an opportunity for us to have more of a shared goal. That might be, that missing link for us to get the plan right and not have to keep coming back every so many months to put a Band-Aid on it. We've got an opportunity to make it right. We've got an organization that consists of almost an entire network of downtown employers who are willing to come to the table and give us their feedback, along with employees and their feedback. And that, I think, is what we should want to have happen. Not to say that there hasn't been any valid attempt in the past. There were some surveys that did go out prior to this new plan, and those surveys were shared with us. But I think now we've got everybody's attention. I think the results from a new survey that go out, along with a partnership with the Downtown Merchants Association and other organizations, could bring a lot better fruit for us to see, a lot better insight, a lot bigger participation, and instead of us versus them, it turns into all of us together. And that, I think, is what we want to see. As far as the amendment goes, I will be voting for it. The amendment that Director Garcia has on the table for us. I do want to kind of pose this question to our city attorney, because I am hearing that Central could be an issue if left unregulated. So if, for say, we were able to pass this amendment as is, would there be any option to do any type of regulation to Central?
I wouldn't want to.
I don't think so.
That is in essence, I think, to refer to what the mayor was speaking on, which is turnover.
Well, would you mind reading your motion again? I was caught off guard with it, so I wasn't tuned in.
To have all, just about removing the,
top part, I think so. Move to remove all city.
yeah, to remove the, all city, paid parking, and all, city parking shall be free through 2026 with, is that the part, or
Yes.
the advisory?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
So in other words, no fees
No fees.
anywhere. The only thing you could do and not have fees is to have time limits. Before we embarked on any of this, there was a 2-hour limit on Central. Even the employees that Mayor McCabe was talking about that parked there for 4 and 8 hours, it was still a 2-hour maximum.
It'd cost $60,000 to put somebody down there to do that.
To enforce it, yeah.
Director Holliday?
Well, and to the city manager's point, and we've talked about this before, we can't mark tires anymore. So the system we have in place would have to remain in place in order for, and people would still have to say that they started parking even if there was no fee, correct? So we could actually then attempt to track the time that people,
You take a picture. We've
mean,
done that in the past.
But you still have to have, somebody from the PD down there doing it.
Right.
Director Trustee?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not in favor of waiving all the fees for 2026. I think we should keep the fee structure that's proposed in option B for Central Avenue, for Fountain Street, for the parking garage, and for Hill Wheatley Plaza. And then if we want to remove the rest of it, that's fine. That gives some more spots on Malvern, that little parklet there, the lot just off Central before you get to Bridge Street, and around Broadway and down Malvern Avenue. But we do have costs associated with this. We did this but to implement paid parking. Now, whether it's $5 or $4, I don't know, but I would not be in favor of waiving all the fees for all the city parking for this current year. We're going to operate the enterprise fund as a deficit, so some fund's going to have to loan it some money, because if we waive all the fees for this year, we do have expenses.
So, would you repeat which sections you said?
I'd keep the paid parking on Central, on Fountain Street, the Exchange Street Plaza, the parking deck, and then Hill Wheatley Plaza. But that opens up another 100, 150, maybe more than that, on those areas that could be free parking for employees. But we can't amend an amendment. We have to vote. We'll have to vote on the amendment, so I'll be
Director
voting
Dobbs,
against it.
What about the Bridge Street lot? That's always been a paid lot.
It has.
Would you not include the Bridge Street lot has been a paid lot for a long time?
How many
Yeah,
spaces are there?
it can be. I mean, that's fine. but I-
You didn't mention it, that's why I was
No,
asking.
I didn't.
I mean,
Craighead was paid lot.
Oh,
Craig
okay.
Kidd.
All the ones on Broadway were paid lots. Malvern was paid. I mean,
Well, again, the goal was to have a revenue stream that would support the construction of an additional parking garage. And while people can survey and say, well, we don't need one, or we don't want to pay for one, that may be all fine. But the bottom line is, we need additional parking in downtown Hot Springs. We do. The whole area continues to boom and bustle and expands, and people want to be able to park at one location and walk the downtown. So, having a parking program that generates a revenue stream that would support revenue bond for the construction of paid parking is what, remember, that was our original goal. So that was the goal. Director Garcia?
Mayor and Board, the constituents that have voiced their concerns to me, and I've brought it up several times about the kiosks, and they cannot get the credit cards to work. They can't. They even told me they were leaving notes on the window because they were afraid they were going to get tickets because they couldn't get the credit card to work in the kiosk. But we don't have even a resident permit. That keeps being pushed out to not look at it now. And now if we adopt something before we have the programming in the Park Mobile is what people are used to using and would prefer that. I don't have that opposition to paying, but to be able to pay, they get too frustrated, and so just don't go back and try again because of so much failure in trying to pay to park. So what I would look at trying to get the timing in this, so the programming, if you've got a contract ready for the board, so we could get that and get the programming done to get a pause at least for that. Because what happens with March, first week in March, when it's all these people coming in, we want to come in, and it's still not working, or we don't have Park Mobile. Even some tourists are saying that they think the paid parking is fine. They've had trouble with trying to use credit card. I'm not talking, I've used the app, but people are having trouble with the app too. But I get the biggest complaint from people that want to use their credit card.
Director Dobbs-Smith?
So if we went with the proposal, with the amendment that Director Garcia is talking about, at this point, right now, today, we're going in the hole about $250,000 on the parking fund. Is that 200,000 or so?
Karen, with our additional expenses, it may actually be a little more than that if we're not charging any fee. Lance, you got that number? Or
Well, I was going to go there next.
Yeah.
Right now with charging, we're going in the hole around $250,000. But until recently, we had meters, and we were taking in something.
And most of that does take in consideration depreciation, which is it's a fund issue, but not a cash issue.
So even setting aside the goal of building a new parking garage, because that seems to be debatable that people would use it, or that people think that we need a parking garage, even though somehow we thought the survey says we need a parking garage, but apparently the people that are going downtown don't think we need one. But there is that other option of the public-private parking garage.
Potentially, yes.
And then also the other option that I still want to see us pursue, the federal building surface parking that's there. That's good. But let's get back to the proposal that Director Garcia has made is for no cost at all in parking. Not even where we used to charge, where we always did charge. And so basically the Wild West everywhere is you park where you feel like parking all day, every day. And no charge at all anywhere?
And I think we need to have the Park Mobile in place to be able to charge. I'm not opposed to charging on Central, and as we've talked to, but it's too difficult for people to pay to park for our residents.
Well, we heard the city manager indicate that they were working on a contract that would be brought back in March. And we do have a revenue stream coming in to the degree that people are challenged with it. Others are able to navigate it. And so we are driving some revenue. And so to stop the whole thing because we want to add another app that could perhaps ease for some, but others are able to do it. And I'm the least techie guy around here. And I was able to walk a customer through how to get, how to pay, and we were in the bottom of the parking garage, and even a Sentinel Record employee just happened to be there, watching, and we got it done. So.
Mayor, that wasn't my rationale, that being the only reason. It's a lot more complicated than that, and I'm responsive to my constituents and to the business
I think we all
owners
try to
as
be.
well. And I would change my motion if the second would, if we could give at least March free, so we can get get a committee and start working together and get the contract before the board.
Operationally, like stopping it, so we have a lot of signage, and we do have, like, I mean, you could turn the app off, we could probably kill the kiosk, but there's quite a bit of signage and quite a bit of materials online and things that we would certainly need to take into account, take down, for lack of a better word. So I don't know how many
You said
hundreds of
the
signs.
contract was ready to go, and this ordinance amendment was to go into effect March 1st. So how were you going to have the programming and the kiosk all moved by March 1st if we approve that tonight?
If you approved it tonight, we would, without haste, have street department begin removing kiosks and taking down signs.
And the online, how would all that be done?
That would be a call with IPS to begin the programming. I've had some prospective calls with them, but I haven't pulled the trigger on anything just because I don't think we've really settled on any direction. But now, in respect to Park Mobile, we've had some conversations with them. It's only a mobile app, so it's a much more straightforward interface with the system, because we already have a paid parking gateway, if that makes sense. This app would function in that payment process the same way. It's, in talking with David with Park Mobile, it's a much shorter turnaround. We're talking probably a week to have things set up the way we want it, so that we can test it and make sure it all functions and works. But to hit that March deadline, to remove the signage, remove the kiosks, and kind of scrub the website and make sure stuff is in order, that's what's really going to take the most amount of time.
And what about, that's Park Mobile only for the app, what about improvements for credit cards at the kiosk?
The kiosks now, I will say, you have raised several times issues with the swipe, and sometimes I believe with the tap. We do have an employee that goes around and checks those. So whenever whenever you bring those up to us, we do check on them and see what the issue is. Really, a lot of times the kiosks, they're not. There's a sequence and a series that the user has to follow through on, and sometimes that's part of the issue. Sometimes it could be the swipe has dirt, has sap, has you name it, and that could be part of the issue too. That's why our employee downtown does go and perform maintenance daily to make sure that the solar panels are clean on the kiosk, that she's cleaning the various swipe components so that they do function as they should. But it is electronic. It does malfunction from time to time.
If they get out of sequence, it kind of times out and has to reset itself. So, if they're not following the direction.
It might not work Saturday, and when you check it on Monday, it's been.
It may work fine, they just didn't follow the sequence, and then, if you don't follow the instructions, it's gonna time out and start itself over again, so. Or that event that they're trying to do will reset itself, and they'll have to do it again and follow the instructions. But if you get out of that instruction or get out of that sequence, it's going to start over.
And the other
Right
comment
or
was
wrong.
the what you said was in the hold. That's not cash flow. Cash flow wise, we're not that way.
Karen, you want to come up right quick and give some numbers?
I ran financials on February 10th, and the parking fund had a loss of 105,000, but you're correct, Director Garcia. The depreciation expense was 200,000. So from a cash perspective, about 100,000 gain.
Is that for
However,
the
as
year?
you know, because it's an enterprise fund, the financial statement will still recognize a deficit fund balance.
Right.
But that was for the year, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Are you talking about for the first 5 weeks, or what are you talking about, 2025?
Yes, this was 2025. Also, when I did some projections based on what, like $5 an hour on Central and $2 an hour on some of these others, we were estimating around 1.2 million in revenue, and that would produce around 300,000 net income, including depreciation.
Of how much depreciation?
240,000.
Did that,
So it would cash flow over $500,000.
If everything went right.
Karen, did that include debt service on a new structure?
No.
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah.
no.
So what was the revenue, gross revenue for 2025, and that began in what month?
The gross revenue, Mayor, was 600,000. And I would say really beginning March 1st is when we realized parking revenues on a daily basis. Because as you know, in January, we had it a couple days, I think it shut down. We shut it down around January 3rd, and then we started back up around mid-February, if I remember right.
Yeah. And so that's what you're giving up, though I imagine it was trending up at different months. It was higher than other months.
March was the highest month, and ironically, the second highest month was October.
I wouldn't say ironically. October is a tremendous month.
I just was expecting it to be another summer month. That would have been higher.
It's too hot. And people, August is a bust because people are going
back to school. Mhm.
So, Director Webb?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor. These questions, Ms. Karen, are actually probably for Lance, but thank you. Well, before you said, did Director Dobbs-Smith, were your questions for Ms. Karen?
Maybe, but probably not. Probably not. So you go ahead.
So, Lance, I want to take us back to the kiosk company, and this is IPS, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so first, the 1,500, and I'm trying to wrap my head around that part. I don't remember seeing the contract per se in this packet. I do remember us having it for a previous downtown paid parking, but I don't remember seeing it here. So I want your help on a couple questions. First, per month, is the 1,500 what we pay per month for the kiosk, and is that per kiosk or for all kiosks?
So the charge per kiosk, basically, they're a computer with a cell phone. It's $55 per month per kiosk for the mobile data fee.
$55 per month
Per kiosk.
And then
We have
how many kiosks?
I believe
do
we have 30
total?
kiosks.
30? I have 31. Is 30 right?
I think we keep one in spare. So I
Okay.
think
Okay, so 30, 55 per month. That's where we get 1,500, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's 1,500 per month, and take that all the way to the end of the year times 12. That's right around 20. Does that sound right?
18,000.
18,000. Okay. The other question is the interest on this proposal here, this revised plan, would the interest have been still at 7.5% per swipe of a credit card?
that's based on your revenue. 7% is, in essence, that's our average merchant processing fee.
But that's eaten by city, right? Not the consumer?
Correct.
Is that commonplace for kiosk that's used for parking? I think we determined too that that was in large respect, or maybe not large respect, but in some respect, a big factor in the net loss for year one of paid parking, was it not? It was coming out to the tune of around $80,000 that we were out, just kiosks per se.
Correct. The
When you
merchant,
factor in this interest rate and then the cost of month per functioning of the kiosk.
yeah, the fee that you're talking about, and Karen has done quite a bit of work on this. That kiosk parking is basically a micro purchase. They're for a few dollars at a time. So the merchant processing fee that you're assessed is going to be comparatively higher than if you were to buy a TV at Best Buy or something along those lines.
Does the contract allow for any type of renegotiation with IPS on that percentage?
With respect to the merchant processing fees, yes, because we're utilizing IPS's merchant processing system right now. We didn't have one as a city. We were in the process. It was kind of a back and forth with our existing one, Tyler New World. So we're relocating to a new financial accounting software. Is kind of a long answer, but they're agnostic to whomever you use for your merchant processing. We had to go with them because the city itself did not have one of its own.
Are there other kiosk companies besides IPS?
Parking kiosks, yeah. I can
Would
show you.
those not entertain a much more appeasable merchant interest rate than 7.5%?
Well, they're all kind of similar in, like, if you don't have your own merchant processor, if you don't use Stripe, or if you don't use some other software for that particular function, you're going to pay a higher percentage. But the kiosks themselves, you have to think about them. They're in essence, they're just a computer that finds its way to the internet to process that payment.
Okay, so the IPS, everything we're talking about now doesn't resonate with the kiosk machine itself. This is referring to the program that's inside.
Correct.
Okay. So, I mean, in that respect, and you know, I'm a coach and educator by trade, not in the business world, but there are some business leaders here in this room. I mean, where does 7.5% stack in terms of the business world? Does that not sound high?
That's relatively high.
So the reason I'm bringing up this point is because if we were to entertain Director Garcia's amendment to some degree, whether it be through the remainder of the year to stop this program so that we can have more collaborative efforts and bring about more of a shared vision, would it be in the best interest of us to entertain getting out of this contract to shop for a better kiosk computer provider as well, so that the interest rate could be lower? If there are other kiosk computer companies besides IPS, and we don't have to dismantle or get rid of the actual kiosk physical, brick and mortar machines, then we could also take this time to shop for a better computer programmer, one that's going to give us a more favorable merchant fee interest rate. 7.5% is too high.
And that's what Karen and myself have been working on, is trying to find basically one that will function with the system that we have, the accounting software, the financial software we're transitioning to BS&A. They use Stripe. Now Stripe, everything, the rates that they quote you, it's based on usage. It's based on the amount of transactions, the value of them, how many you have. So as of now, we're only a parking transaction on this merchant processor. We do approximately, I think we did somewhere around 400,000 or 500,000 transactions in parking. So a lot of transactions for $2, $3. But as we transition to a new merchant processor with BS&A, we have utility billing. We have permits downstairs. Our processing will be much more robust. So we'll have more transactions, higher value. We become a more attractive customer.
Would you say that could be an influence to reduction in interest rates?
It should.
But as of right now, that interest rate's still locked in at 7.5%, correct?
Yeah, the percent fee that we're assessed is what it is until we adjust who we use for the merchant processor.
And that, to me, is something that could be considered during a break. So that's all I have.
Any other discussion amongst the board?
Uh,
Director Dobbs-Smith?
So this may be a crazy question, but when we first implemented this program, we didn't enforce it for a while, right?
Correct.
We didn't enforce it. So what happens if, and we all know that there were certain areas in like Washita that nobody was paying because we didn't enforce it and it was too spread out. So what happens if we adopt the program that we have on the table tonight, not Director Garcia's, but the one that came to us for the
Option B.
Yes, option B. What if we adopted that, but we said we're only going to enforce Central Avenue, the main Central Avenue, and the lots that I'm assuming are still the same price range, the city lots, the lots that we previously charged for that had meters in them? Has that rate changed in those lots?
Oh, yeah.
It has? Since the past year or
Yes.
prior to?
Since we adopted.
But right now, this option B is the same rate that we've been charging all year, correct?
Correct.
And Central Avenue?
No, that's not right.
No,
They
it's not
were-
right. Okay.
They were $1.
The secondary, the yellow shading was $1 per hour, and the Central Avenue, the tiered rate was $2 for the first 2 hours, $4.
Well, I know
and-
Central Avenue is more now, but
Washington's too.
what if we, so you're saying that the $1 is now
$2.
$2, but all year long it was $1. Okay, so what if we go back to the $1? We keep Central Avenue like that, and we enforce Central Avenue and the previously paid lots that we always enforced anyway. They were enforced because they had quarters going in them, and when it flashed red, you were in violation. What if we did that then it would be a city attorney question if we just didn't enforce it. That way you would find out, because I know when we first started doing this, even though you weren't enforcing it, even though they weren't supposed to pay, there were people paying. Because you were finding money in there and you weren't supposed to pay. There were people that were paying at night. There were people that were paying at odd times. So what if we just didn't enforce anything except Central Avenue? That way the employees would be doing what they're doing right now anyway.
What if we identify the lots? It's hard for us not to enforce something that you pass as an ordinance because.
But we're not enforcing it, we weren't enforcing it today on Washita.
Is it your suggestion or possible suggestion?
It's just a thought.
that we only enforce Central Avenue, that's it?
Yes.
Not the lots, not.
Right,
okay.
right.
Well.
Not the lots.
You can't do that?
Then essentially, what you could do, if you were to adopt option B, you could amend it to say that all fees will be held, except for Central Avenue, will be held in abeyance. It's still on the books, but you're gonna hold the parking fees in abeyance until,
So that's why I'm looking at you, because you know the right abeyance.
yeah.
That way we've got something on the books, we've got something to work with, and we can see how many people are actually local, because we've talked about possibly excluding local. 'Cause there's a lot of people that don't even know that handicap parking is free. Anybody with a handicap sticker is free. I get that question almost every single day. Is that true? And I'm like, yeah, it's true.
In a public lot.
Well,
you gotta do
right
something
now,
about it.
we have Director Garcia's motion to, essentially, I don't want to misstate it, but just to not have any paid parking until such time that we're able to revisit it. So let's call the roll on that, please.
Director Holliday.
No.
Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs-Smith.
No.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
No.
Mayor McCabe.
No, amendment fails.
You have yours?
I really like Steve's comment that as an interim way of ensuring, the paid parking in the heart of downtown, but still have ample or an enhanced unregulated parking well beyond what was proposed in item B, option B. You want to make that as a motion?
Yes, sir. I'd make that a motion that we adopt option B as it relates to parking on Central Avenue, on Fountain Street, on the Exchange Street parking deck, and on Hill Wheatley Plaza.
Second.
No other lots.
No, not until we do what was suggested and come back with some recommendations.
I have a
Director Garcia?
question.
Oh, well, we need a motion or second.
He made a motion, I already seconded.
Oh, you did?
She did.
Thank you. Go ahead, Director.
Could an advisory committee be appointed without it being a part of anything? I mean, is that something you would entertain?
I could form a committee to look at this and bring something back
with
to
those
you.
components of
Yes.
representation?
Right.
I mean, we definitely want the stakeholders there. I mean,
Absolutely.
Mayor, you mentioned this earlier, but I mean, the whole reason we started was because of the complaints we received from that specific group that there's not enough parking downtown and employees were taking up all the premium spots. So yeah, I mean, we could bring them back in or work with just that Downtown Merchants Association, and hopefully we'll get a few more of them that show up to that meeting that have input. Just on a side note, when they talked about Fredericksburg in the letter, and so Kent Myers called me this morning to talk about parking, asked what was going on, and I go, well, Kent, you were city manager here, but you were also city manager in Fredericksburg. So tell me what happened in Fredericksburg. And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. I go, you want me to talk to you about mine? I don't want to know about yours. And so, I mean, the kind of the same thing. When you talk about employee parking, that sounds pretty consistent in a lot of places. They actually had a grant to build a parking deck that their board voted no because of their downtown merchants did not want employee parking, any paid parking, much like we saw in the letter. So it seems to be kind of consistent, but if we do that, it does open up quite a few more spaces.
Right.
Those that are in that midsection of Central are still going to have to walk to get to a free spot, and that was one of the things that I was bringing up with him is parking in those situations, it's not automatically charging an employee $3,800 to park. It's a choice. Mayor, I think you told me you had an employee that goes to work like at 6:30, parks on Prospect. It's a choice to pay or not pay if you have enough free parking. But in what we just talked about, some of those areas like Ms. Smith spoke about, in that midsection of Central, they're still going to have to go to one end or the other to be able to find parking.
Well, you still have Exchange Street itself and a little parking lot, and we just, of course, Spring Street and Reserve are right there, and I just think of the people in the Quapaw Bathhouse, the National Park employees, and that, and people never really think much about going up Reserve Street or even Opera right here.
But we would certainly form a committee to try to work through those issues to see if we can come back with something that is palatable to everyone, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Any further discussion on the revised motion made by Director Trustee, seconded by Director Garcia?
So this is.
Director Beard, did you have a comment?
I was going to ask to repeat what we're voting on, what is,
Okay.
before we do that.
Thank you. I was going to ask that. I was going to confirm that myself. So what we have is option B is still on the floor, which is now being amended possibly by this motion to restructure the paid parking on Central, side streets, and parking lots to include only Central at the $5 an hour rate. 4-hour maximum.
Right.
And a $2 rate, no maximum, on Fountain, Parking Deck, and Hill Wheatley Plaza.
That's what I proposed, yes, sir.
That would remain, the downtown resident parking program is still in there.
Yes.
And so if that's something that you want to talk about after we handle this amendment, you know,
Right,
that-
so
that
this
would
is
be
an
one.
amendment to option B.
It is.
Right.
Any additional discussion on?
Pardon?
Employee parking's not in
I'm sorry,
option B, right?
downtown resident.
Oh, yeah, yeah, thank you.
Resident.
Well, again, that opened up downtown resident parking too. So, Director Webb?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This is probably a question for Brian too, but I received some constituent feedback, and I did get a couple that were favorable to the revised plan, but their feedback was that Central at $5 an hour is too high, and I'm looking back, I'm trying to look to see if the downtown merchant mentioned anything. Yeah, they did. Parking rates, $5 per hour with a 4-hour maximum is significantly higher than comparable tourist markets and discourages longer visits to shops, restaurants, and attractions. So, if the amendment currently on the table moves through, is the next step to address that $5, or could it not be worked in with what's on the table now?
It can be worked in. He'd have to pull down his motion, and the second will have to be pulled down. We'll have to work through one motion at a time, one amendment at a time. But you could bring it back just as soon as y'all vote.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Holliday?
I'll just add real quick kind of where I stand on that with respect to this. So I was going to bring up that item with the $5 an hour versus a $4 an hour. Director Trustee had made that comment in one of our work sessions. However, I think with this much additional unregulated parking, I am no longer going to bring up the $5 an hour, because just to the point of someone just said with employees choosing to walk a little further to pay nothing. Likewise, customers will have significantly more options for unregulated parking. So just to that point, the $5 an hour, I think if we're losing this much revenue, but also gaining that much unregulated, I think that $5 an hour should stand.
Any addition?
One
Director
other point of
Dobbs-Smith?
clarification. On the motion, did it retain the 4-hour limit?
Yes.
Yes.
On Central.
Yes. No limit on Fountain.
I don't understand why we would care if somebody wanted to park for 8 hours for $5. I would think that if they want to pay that much, they should be able to pay that, but.
It's a turnover. All right, any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Beard.
No.
Dobbs-Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
No.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Mayor McKay.
Aye. Motion, well,
The amendment.
ordinance as amended is approved.
Yeah. The amendment has been.
The
amendment
has been approved.
To option B.
Further discussion.
Okay.
Further discussion.
Yeah.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Now that the amendment went through, I want to make a motion to amend the amendment to the amendment.
No,
just
you're
option B.
you're amending the motion as amended.
Okay,
That's
I want to amend the motion as amended to bring down the per hour charge at just Central Road to $3 per hour instead of $5.
Second.
4. Oh, I got a second.
What is it? 3 or 4 or 5?
Before I make this amendment, I want to turn my attention to the Downtown Merchant Association. Can I do that? Can we have somebody come up?
Well, we're really in the board discussion.
I stand with 3.
And I second.
Yeah, motion and a second to reduce the parking fee on Central Avenue from $5 as proposed down to $3 for the hours of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we have a motion and we have a second. Sundays excluded. Director Garcia?
I have a question. Would we have the information what the financial impact would be based on our current?
Let's look at the number of hours, so she can figure it out right quick.
You're gonna lose
$260,000.
You're gonna lose about 40% of your revenue off the projection.
How much are they in the private lots? How much are they paying?
About $8 on the corner.
Yeah, I don't think we'd want to be less than the private lots. I wouldn't
We
think the
are
private.
less, even with
but-
5.
Right, but I wouldn't think we'd want to be that much less.
It would reduce revenue by about $270,000.
So that would put us in a cash flow loss. It would, that would,
So
would that
the
reduce the?
the
cash
1.2
flow?
million also included some other paid parking. So we have, because now it's limited to 4 locations, also that's going to reduce revenue too. Now, I will say, excuse me, there are some variable costs.
Right.
The fees on the credit card processing and all that, so I don't have all
it's
of
hard
those
for her to-
calculations done.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine. I was just getting an estimate because I have a concern because we've already reduced the regulated space. So
Right.
that reduces, and then I'm very concerned that I don't want to get in a where we don't cash flow. Even though we've had a loss, we have cash flowed.
You know, we have a lot at the corner of, not we being the city, but there is a paid lot at the corner of Court Street and Exchange. It's a surface lot. And it is full to the gills on those 3-day weekends, heavy holiday weekends. And I think it's $8 an hour. And there's no hour free. And if you happen to have an extra toddy or two and can't move your car, you got a 24-hour charge at $8 an hour.
Mayor, when we were at the Downtown Merchants meeting, Alan did, I think, Lance, correct me, but I think Alan did mention $4 an hour was something that they were thinking, or at least he was thinking. He made that comment at the meeting, so bringing it from 5 to 4 was mentioned at that meeting. I don't know that there was ever a vote or anything like that, but.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to change that to 4.
You're
We
pulling down your motion to amend.
I want to pull down that motion to amend.
Pull your
Do
second.
you rescind your second?
Sure.
I want to now make that same motion except at 4
I'll second it.
on Central.
I'll second that.
You second? Okay. We got a motion by Director Webb, seconded by Director Dobbs-Smith. Any further discussion? Director Holliday?
Thank you. Just to be clear in all of our conversations, City Manager, you intend on putting together an ad hoc committee after this meeting, correct?
That is the direction I'm hearing from the board, that
Okay.
they'd like to see that happen, and we'll do that with the Downtown Merchants. And whatever you pass tonight, that will be our starting point with the ad hoc.
That's right.
Okay. So that being said, I mean, I do think one of the things, while I absolutely appreciate the concerns, and like I said, I was intending on bringing $4 an hour in advance of our previous amendment. I would like to see the committee come back with a suggestion that is data-based, as opposed to just making it even less money now. Because ultimately, again, one, we need to maintain cash flow positive. This is incredibly painful for us to actually be losing dollars at the end of the year. And ultimately, we are looking to be able to generate enough revenue for a bond. And so I think that some of that information, even going back to the merchants that they may or may not have had access to, may be helpful in their suggestions back to us. So I'm not going to be voting for this. I think that we have an opportunity to take this information and come back with some very real numbers, and I'm sure that Karen will crunch some numbers for us in advance of those meetings as well.
Any further comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Dobbs-Smith.
Aye.
Webb,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Trustee,
Aye.
Holliday,
No.
Beard,
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. The amendment is approved. We got to vote again?
So we have option B as amended. The amendment is that Central Avenue will be $4 per hour, $4 cap. Fountain, the Exchange parking deck, and Hill Wheatley will be $2 per hour, no cap. And as of now, the downtown resident parking program still exists.
Okay, so now, we don't have another vote on this. All these votes, we now have option B as amended,
You need to, yeah.
Vote on
And then
it.
We
we
have
vote-
one more vote?
We have to
You need to
adopt
vote
that.
to approve it as amended.
Yeah, scorecard or player list or
Yes.
something.
Just,
Okay,
I just have
we need a
one more
motion.
clarification, though. So why are we not charging for the Bridge Street lot that we've charged for 50 years?
Well, then provide more unregulated parking, not employee
Okay.
parking, unregulated.
Unregulated.
Okay.
Okay, so we need a motion to,
You know, you
No, we
just-
have a
you
motion.
gotta call
We
the
just
roll.
Okay,
need to
call the
vote
roll.
on it as amended.
Yeah.
What are we calling the roll on?
Pardon?
What are we calling the roll on?
Option B as amended.
As amended.
What's the amendment?
That we will only have regulated paid parking on Central Avenue at $4 an hour, 4-hour max, $2 on Fountain, the parking deck, and Hill Wheatley, no hourly cap, and the downtown resident parking program still exists.
all right, call the roll, please.
Director Webb,
No.
Garcia,
Aye.
Trustee,
Aye.
Holliday,
Aye.
Beard,
No.
Dobbs Smith,
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye.
Mayor, not to belabor this point any further, but we do have one other issue with this, that there's an emergency clause related to this because there are fees involved. I'll read it in its entirety, and if you would, entertain a motion second to adopt. This is Section 5, Emergency Clause, effective date. It is hereby found and determined that the improvements to the city's paid parking program, including increases in the amount of free parking available to residents and visitors, would improve the city's economy and enhance the ability of the citizens and visitors to support local retail establishments, restaurants, and other businesses. And removal of the paid parking signage and kiosks associated with these newly designated free parking areas is necessary to achieve these benefits in a manner consistent with the broad city interest, and is necessary for the immediate preservation of the public health, safety, and welfare. Therefore, an emergency is hereby declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after the date of March 1, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the emergency clause. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
No.
6-1. Approved. Moving on to new business. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 action items remaining. We'll consider resolution R-26-37. I'll ask City Council to read by title.
Resolution R-26-37, a resolution amending resolution number 10384 as amended by approving an updated Appendix K to the airport property management policy to reflect the current airport property rates based on the Consumer Price Index, CPI. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by Director Whip. And our report will be provided by Don Orlett, Director of Airport Operations. Welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully mine won't be quite so contentious, but the airport property management policy, the Appendix K of that is the airport rates structure. And in the policy, we have a annual CPI adjustment for rents on hangars and building space. In doing the calculation for the CPI this year, it comes out to be a 2.2% increase in the rent. It was on the consent agenda and was requested to be moved. So I assume there's questions for it.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Rowlett? Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. This is really more for clarification than anything else, because I did assume that there might be some constituent feedback on this issue, as I do have a lot that are tenants of hangars at the airport, and so I anticipated their feedback, and there were some questions that I had too in response to some of the feedback. The first, I mean, this was 135 pages, the property management policy.
Yes, sir.
So, in that packet, I don't recall seeing anything to do with the Airport Advisory Committee. Did any of those representatives weigh in on this current resolution in front of us today? And if they did, can you share that response?
They had supported it. It's an annual event. We did not have a discussion on it today specifically at our advisory committee, but we had email conversations back and forth. It's a board approved CPI requirement in the policy, and we went a long period of time where they had different time frames that they used. Sometimes it would be 3 years, sometimes it would be 5. When I first got here and we were looking through the older appendix Ks, there were some times when it was 10 years they didn't have any kind of increase to it. So we go to the store, we go to the gas station, wherever, we have prices that go up over a period of time. These numbers are based on the CPI from the labor statistics, using the formula that we outlined in the policy that came to the 2.2% increase.
So when you were saying that there are CPI adjustments, in essence, that means increases. In some cases, it was 5 years, every 10 years. When was the last time we did a CPI increase?
Last year.
Last year.
Yeah, so
Is it kind of
yeah.
current policy that it goes up 2.2 every year?
If I could step in here, what he's trying to explain to you is that last year in 2024, he brought a new policy to the board, and you all approved it.
Right.
Prior to that time, it was really hodgepodge on who would get a CPI increase. It was in their individual contracts, individual leases, and so it became an accounting nightmare. So we put everybody on an annual increase. Everybody gets an annual increase.
CPI.
That question was coming up next because of it being 135 and me seeing this one. How does that look different from previous property management policies? And so that's the big difference between this one versus what policies that were prior to the approval of this kind of renewal policy, if you will.
In previous years, sometimes it would have been higher, sometimes it would have been lower. Well, it wouldn't have been higher because it wouldn't have hit everybody, but it never hit the mark at the same time.
Are there cases where the CPI could take a decrease?
There are times
CPI, it's whatever the CPI is.
There are times based on the numbers from the labor statistics where they will go down a little bit, but most of the time it's going to be a small increase, like a cost of living type increase.
And I'd like to add, there was a pretty significant issue when they were just kind of hodgepodged in different agreements on what those increases would be. As we tried to look at that, Lance, you may have to help me with this. It was prior to Don, I think, but some of those had a 16% increase in 1 year because their contract or their agreement called for these CPIs each year. Nobody ever did them. And so when we got there, some of them had to catch up 5 years or 6 years of CPI increase, 8 years of CPI increases, and they were huge. So we decided, okay, hey, put something together that we can take the board that has an annual CPI index for everybody that's there. So they have these small CPI increases, whether it's up or down, and not something that catches somebody 8 years later that they've got these additional fees.
And the time, in doing a little bit of research of when those CPI increases take place, there's one that suggests that it happens in most cases annually around July 1st, and other researches I've found where it happens, it's calculated in the late summer to be implemented in October 1st. Is there any rhyme or reason for why ours is in March?
Well, the numbers that you take from there are released, the last numbers are released in January for the year.
Okay.
And so then around the 20th or so of January, that last number is released. We do the calculation, and then we come up with that percentage. Then we bring it to the board in February to review and approve. And once it's approved, then the rates are effective 1 March.
Would that be any different than other airports around Hot Springs, such as, say, Texarkana or Fort Smith? Would there, if any CPI increase were to take place in those, would it be around this same time period, or they?
I don't think we know that because we're not running that airport, but, it's, I think CPI is, as Don had mentioned, when that number comes out, that's typically when you implement, and is the reason it's coming to you in February, because we got the number in January.
Right.
Let's bring that up because, there was some feedback. One tenant has approximately just a little over 1,000 square foot hangar. His rate's at $163.42, and he states, that's quite reasonable in my opinion, personally. But then and I've got 2 or 3 that are similar to that too. But then on the other side of that, I'm hearing that we are already ridiculously overpriced in comparison to other airports. And they mentioned some other things about the hangars, but the rate at where we are, and I realize that we don't run other airports. We focus on Hot Springs Airport, Memorial Field, but in relation to where our hangar prices are, how does it stack with other airports? Do you have that knowledge?
Well, sir, not I have it anecdotally just by talking with other airport managers when we go to the conferences and stuff, and rates are always a question on what we're going to charge for this, what we're going to charge for that, and there is no standard per se across the board. But since we're talking about constituents and stuff, if you give me a minute, I'd like to set a little context for the airport.
Yes, sir.
We received a bunch of emails too, and we got them last year. Every time there's an increase, email blows up. The rest of the year you don't hear from anybody. So we got those same concerns. People talking about rates at other airports and our rates and fees and why do we have to pay so much and stuff like that. Part of the context is as was presented earlier today, this is a destination city. And so a destination city, you've got people coming in to see Hot Springs. The airport is the gateway for a lot of them when they come through. Other airports around here, Russellville, for example, just one pops in my head, Malvern, and some of those, people are not flying to Malvern, maybe they're close by, but they're not flying to those airports to come to Hot Springs. They're coming to the Hot Springs airport, and they're wanting to stay here or whatever. We have a waiting list of about 15, which is down a lot from where we started out. But the airport is a niche environment, right? It's not like a public school playground. Everybody gets to go play and stuff like that. Anybody can come that wants to, but it tailors to aircraft and aviation community. We are a Part 139 airport, which has more regulations on us as far as inspections, airfield signage, light and marking, the ARF, the firefighting, wildlife management, all those are Part 139 explicit requirements. The other airports that are not 139 are Part 91, and they don't have hardly any of those requirements. In the U.S., there's about 5,200 airports that's public use, and out of those, 520 are Part 139s, so about 10% of the airports. In Arkansas, we have 100 listed airports, and we're one of 8 Part 139s in the state. So that in itself is going to have a higher range of requirements and so forth. A lot of the times when we get the emails from folks, it's my hangar, this hangar, my hangar, and that's fine. That's their world, is their hangar. But it's Hot Springs Airport, not Hot Springs Hangar Complex, right? And there's a lot of operational stuff that goes into operating the aircraft, and it's all expensive. The airport gets its money from fuel sales and hangar rentals and other building rentals and so forth. That's where we get our money to do maintenance. And a lot of these emails about, well, we're not getting any maintenance done, but you're raising our rent. Well, there's a lot of common areas there that everybody benefits from that are big dollar items that come out of our budget to pay for. One example is our ARF, the firefighting. That's a $30,000 a year expense just for training. And then made a list of some other things, maintenance and stuff that we have that we've done around, because people have concerns about their hangar is not getting done, even though there are improvements going on the airport that affect everybody. As far as the square footage goes, again, it's a niche area. It's for airplanes, right? Not boats or RVs and all that stuff that everybody loves to stick in their hangar if they get the opportunity. And then I have to go chasing them down. But if you go outside and you get that RV or that boat storage area, just an example, I found one real quick today. 12 by 40 is $251 a month. That's 480 square feet. The smallest hangar that we have out there is 1,066 square feet, almost double that. The breakdown on the outside storage is about 52 cents a square foot, or $6.28 a year. On your Appendix K, you have the column that is the rates column, that is per year. So at the top of the list is $3.17 per year on that. So our smallest hangar we have is at a rate of $2.96 a year, compared to something on the outside that's $6.28 a square foot a year. So they talk about everything's expensive. Go get one of those things and put your boat in it or whatever, and you're going to pay, over double of what we charge, which is already a problem. So then we come out, in my opinion, we're underpriced on a lot of it.
I appreciate your clarification. And your time to take to explain all of it, Mr. Don. That was the purpose for me, was just to get some clarification and to see what, if any, changes might be in this management policy versus previous management policies, and to uncover a little bit more of the history of CPI. I think you did a good job explaining it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I will make the board aware that we are scheduling a tenant meeting, trying to get it scheduled for March 5th. So I plan on being out there with Don and Lance, and we're going to meet with tenants, more of a listening session. I was privileged to some of those emails as well. But I also looked at some of those, and one of those that was very vocal owes us $11,000 in back rental. You know, another one that you mentioned comments from specifically, used to sublease a lot of our hangars to other people. So, you know, there's other undercurrents that are flowing through there. But anyway, I do want to have that listening session with them. The board, in one of your goals, is for that master plan to take place. We're working now to get the airport sealed, both the tower and the terminal, so we can do that work on the FBO on the inside. So that's something that we'll be bringing back to you. But it also, we need to look at what's happening in some of our hangars. A lot of those we can repair, and there's other opportunities for, be it just escape me, lease improvements, help me with that term.
Leasehold
Leasehold
improvements.
improvements, thank you. You know, those are those opportunities, but, you know, I haven't been there in quite some time, in that form to listen. And so we're going to have a listening session. We're trying to schedule for March the 5th, and we'll take that input and get back together and work through that. So I do want the board to know that we are hearing that, and that is something that we're trying to schedule for that date.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to commend you, Bill, for taking the steps to have that meeting. I did ask you about that a few weeks ago, and I'm glad to hear that it's moving forward. And I do also want to acknowledge that I think we are making some correct steps in addressing our airport needs within the master goal. And I definitely think we're moving in the right direction, especially as the terminal's concerned, which, like you said earlier, is one of the gateways to our city. And again, I just appreciate the clarification for a lot of the hangar details, if you will. Thank you.
Director Garcia?
I just wanted to give you the comment of pilots that I know that do business out at our airport, brag about the customer service they receive, and how that is why a lot of people want to come here, want to stop over here. So I wanted to commend you and everyone involved at the airport for that excellent customer service providing.
I appreciate that, ma'am. And I do get comments all the time, people coming through. Got an excellent team out there. We're building still, but they've always done a good job on the customer service side.
Maybe a closing comment, maybe not, but since there was so much discussion on the CPI, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics calculates the CPI. So, I mean, that's a federal agency, and they do it on a regular basis, and leases all around the country, you know, have that. I'd be surprised if there was a lease that did not have some type of escalator clause based on the CPI. So, it's not something that Don sits in his office and looks out at the runway and says, what should I increase them this year? It's the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Director Trustee?
Thank you, Mayor. And we made the comment that sometimes the CPI might go down. That'd be very unlikely unless we're in a recession. But the CPI increase might not be as great as last year.
Right.
In that sense, we're talking about it going down from a 2.2% increase to a 1.5 or something. But very seldom would it be a negative number where the total rent would be less than what it has been in previous years. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, you wouldn't want the CPI to go negative.
No, sir.
That
Would
would
not.
be a
Wouldn't be good.
period of deflation and high unemployment. That would be a killer for Hot Springs,
Right.
and so everywhere. But anyways, any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Or resolution is adopted.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
You can stay and remain with us. Consider resolution R-26-38. I'm almost done.
I'll read it for you, Mayor.
Please.
Resolution R-26-38, a resolution authorizing out-of-state travel to the National League of Cities Congressional City Conference for Director Phyllis Beard as required by Hot Springs Code. Section 2-1-5, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt. Director Webb, seconded by Director Garcia. And staff report will be provided by City Clerk Harmony Morrissey.
Thank you. I will do this one very quickly. Director Phyllis Beard has submitted a pre-travel report requesting to travel to Washington, D.C. for National League of Cities Congressional City Conference. The conference is March 16 through 18 with executive education and pre-conference activities March 14 through 15. The code does state that all out-of-state travel shall be subject to funding in the Board of Directors' travel budget line items. Whenever possible, the attendance at out-of-state events on behalf of the City of Hot Springs should be rotated among the individual members of the Board of Directors. Travel costs and miscellaneous expenses shall be paid at the rates in accordance with the procedures established in the administrative policy and associated forms entitled Travel Procedures for City Employees and Officials. Those were linked in your packet. Director Beard did attend National League of Cities Congressional City Conference in 23, 24, and 25, and the National League of Cities City Summit in 23, 24, and 25. According to the report form, the estimated cost of attendance to the 2026 event is $4,225. I'm happy to answer questions, but Director Beard might be able to answer them better.
Board members have any questions of Harmony or perhaps what Director Beard might be able to offer? Any questions? Director Trustee.
Thank you, Mayor. Harmony, I looked at that tentative agenda, and it looks like it's all about 2025's conference. I was just curious what might be offered. And Director Beard, those pre-conference activities, are they beneficial? Have they been beneficial in years past on the 2 days prior to the actual Congressional City Conference?
Yes, the pre-conference activities are council constituency groups where I serve on the federal advocacy, community economic development. You know, we still have outstanding grant monies that was for District 2 that have not been awarded yet. I know that there has been some communication where they're asking questions or something that city is supposed to do. So there are other cities that have gotten their money or was awarded money the same time as we were. They've gotten their money and we haven't gotten ours. And then there's the, so that one's federal advocacy, and then the other one is constituency groups that I am a member of.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any further questions? Director Holliday?
I know I'm a broken record, but I do think when these come up, you know, I've asked before, and maybe I should ask closer to the budget session, but I think we as a group need to decide our priorities with travel. You know, the ordinance also says that wherever possible, it should rotate, and we have not had a conversation prior to today. So, you know, I think that we as a group are not working to plan better for these conferences, and I think we need to plan a little better before next year, as I say every year. And again, I will apologize for not making it a bigger deal in the fall, but I don't think we're following our own intention of our ordinance by sending the same person to a conference, to the same conference every year, or even deciding whether or not it's a priority. It was definitely a priority in advance of the water project, but you know, I question what will come out of this that couldn't come out of a conversation with our elected officials, either on the phone or here in town.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to be brief, too. I support this resolution, and I commend Director Beard for being a representative of us at this conference, and I look forward to hearing what you learn.
Any additional questions, comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
No.
Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
No. Resolution's adopted. Moving on to consider resolution R-26-39, ask city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-26-39, a resolution setting a public hearing pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated section 14-235-223 on a proposed ordinance amending ordinance number 5275 and setting development impact fees for the wastewater system of the city of Hot Springs. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
That was quick. Director Garcia, Director Webb, and again, this is just a first reading, no discussion.
Well, actually, this one, Mayor,
this
is setting the public hearing.
sorry, thank you.
That's quite all right. This is setting the public hearing on the item that is next on your agenda.
Correct.
Which is just for first reading, no action, no discussion. So I'll do a little bit of that in connection with the notice of the hearing. What is going to be presented to you and introduced after this item is adopted is an increase. An increase to impact fees that we impose on our wastewater system. That's brought to you pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated section 14-56-103. But it's wastewater, and so there's another provision, 14-235-223B, that requires us to have a public hearing after it is introduced. And there has to be 10 days of publication in the newspaper prior to your action on it. So this item will direct the city clerk to issue a notice in the newspaper tomorrow or Thursday, setting this for a hearing at your board meeting on March the 3rd. The next item will just be a reading of what will be brought to you for action on the 3rd.
Okay, so we're just setting a date for the hearing.
The public hearing will be on March the 3rd. This action item tells us to do that.
So you're not approving the rates at this time.
Correct.
You're just approving the date for the hearing. Public hearing. All right. Director Trustee.
Will that be during our meeting?
Oh, yes.
Will it be after our meeting? What?
It's right,
Before our
right there in
meeting?
the middle.
Right there in the middle where it
Yeah.
normally is?
Where we have our public hearings.
Okay.
Right
And-
before new business.
Okay. After the, okay.
Is it before new business?
Right before new business.
Right before new business. And the public's going to be informed through this notice in the newspaper and on our website, I suppose.
Yes.
And then if they want to come and sign up about these wastewater
Impact fees.
impact fees,
Yes,
that's the time to do it.
absolutely.
Water and wastewater. Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. I might have missed this, but is a vote to take place after the public hearing or the following meeting?
There is a vote to take place now on whether or not to call a public hearing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
And
we vote now to call the
yes.
public hearing, and then if we pass it, then the public hearing takes place on March the 3rd.
Correct.
And like Director Trustee was saying, that is the time that any resident could speak on that item in
Yes.
front of us. After that takes place, would a vote then take place to either approve or deny it, or would that be the next meeting?
No, it'll
The
be for
3rd.
action that night.
Okay, got you.
So moving the next item, that will come to us as old business during that meeting?
Yes.
Because we're going to consider this ordinance tonight.
We're going to introduce it by
Right.
reading
But
the
it's just
title.
first reading, though.
First
Right.
reading only.
Sorry, that's right.
Well, tonight is just one reading.
Right,
and
just
then,
one reading.
So,
Gotcha.
okay, so this is, again, we're just approving the setting of a date. Please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Okay, Brian, for clarification, do we introduce this any differently? I know this is just a first reading, but as far as
If you would entertain a motion to suspend the rules for reading by title only, first reading only.
okay.
So moved.
Second.
I did that well.
You, excellent.
Thank you.
As always.
Director Garcia made the motion, Director Trustee seconded.
Yeah.
So please read it one time.
All in favor of suspending?
All in favor of suspending the rules and read by title only one time.
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Ordinance O-26-07, an ordinance adopting development impact fees for the wastewater system of the city of Hot Springs, amending ordinance number 5275, and prescribing other matters related thereto. That does conclude the reading by title, first reading only. Please go on to the next item on your agenda.
Very good. Final action item of the evening is to consider ordinance O-26-08. I'll entertain a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title.
So moved.
Director Dobb-Smith,
Second.
seconded by Director Trustee. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title only. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Please read by title.
Ordinance O-26-08, an ordinance amending ordinance number 4089 by conditionally accepting an extension of Peninsula Point and for other purposes. Does that conclude your reading, Mayor? If you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Director Dobb-Smith, second by Director Garcia. And Ron Sweaver will be, our Public Works Director will provide us our report. Welcome.
Thank you. Staff recommends amending ordinance number 4089, accepting the additional length of Peninsula Point and right-of-way for maintenance by the city. There's an attached map for you to look at. The length illustrated in the master street name index does not match the length adopted in ordinance 4089. The ordinance states that the length of Peninsula Point from Peninsula Point Drive, or Peninsula Drive, south, 1,350 feet to dead end, including 316 feet side loop. The master street index states that it is 1,455 feet to include the 316-foot side loop. The proposed ordinance would not go into effect until the completion of the installation of the utilities, sewer and water to an equal size of the piping from their current termination point to the south end access gate, and to repave the roadway disturbed by the utility extensions to the same width as the existing street, which is 10 feet, with a minimum of 2 inches of asphalt, leading to lot number 5R as per replat, recorded with the Garland County Circuit Court on 1/13/26, which is attached. All utility extensions and road paving costs will be the responsibility of the property owner of Lot 5R. Furthermore, the acceptance will be contingent upon the completion of the work as outlined in this ordinance and must pass inspection by the City of Hot Springs Engineering Department. At the said time, the improvements are completed, and at that time would be accepted by the city and added to the city's master street index. So what it would do is it would increase the length from 1,350 to 1,495, and the purpose of this ordinance is in order to develop that peninsula, the city code requires that it abuts a city street. So in order for that gentleman to develop that and give him a permit, we would have to have that street as part of our index.
Director Trustee.
Thank you. Ron, where did the different measurements come from? I mean, what happened?
I'm not sure, because even if you come in there, the 1350 stops just above that end, but the road is still paved all the way to the gate. And for some reason, it was left out back then. I'm not sure why. And I don't know how the street master index differed from it. But after going out and surveying it and coming out there, we measured the full length, and it's 1,495 feet. And if you look at the old plat that's in there, the road actually followed a different path. And now when they actually built it, they straightened it out, so that kind of conflicted with everything as well.
So in this replat, it's the shaded road here that goes down to Peninsula, and then it stops, I guess, at a gate?
Correct.
And then it says the drive continues? Is it where the drive continues? Is that where the question is that we're going to install, or whoever's developing this lot is going to install the utilities?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Ron, do we have any expense associated with this acceptance at
No,
this
sir.
time?
No,
So
sir.
it's So to the.
All expenses will be the burden of the property owner that wants to develop that section.
When it came into the city, it came in as a prescriptive roadway. And so when the original plat was filed, it dedicated what they thought was the roadway.
Okay.
And over the years, that pavement kept inching, there was nothing to stop the paver from inching it south, okay? But now that they're selling part of it, it's being subdivided by creating this 5R. This is a brand-new tract. It's a brand-new tax parcel. And so when you measure it out now, the length of the street is longer. That's all this is.
Well, and that's my question. It's the street that's to be constructed?
To be added on.
Right, to add it on to. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you.
Everybody good? Anybody sign up for this?
No, sir.
All right, please call the roll.
Director Beard.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Webb.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. That completes the action items for this evening. We have Board of Directors items for discussion. Any discussion? Director Trustee.
Mayor, if you will, thank you. If you will, indulge me 3 or 4 minutes, please. These are my comments tonight. They don't represent the viewpoints of the city administration or the viewpoints of this city board, because the city board hasn't acted on what I'm going to talk about. And I don't speak for the board, as I'm not authorized to speak for the board or for the city. Only our city manager or you, our mayor, are authorized to speak for us. I speak tonight for Steve Trusty. I'd like to address some of the points that were published in an article that was front page in the Sentinel Record on Wednesday, February 11th, regarding the ballot measure that this board has referred to the voters of the city of Hot Springs to be voted on March 3rd, with early voting that actually started today. The issue before the voters is about compensation for us, the directors and the mayor who served these voters. A committee of the Republican Party of Garland County, RPGC, hereafter referred to, by a voice vote almost 2 weeks ago now, unanimously adopted a resolution that strongly opposes paying sitting directors. Why? Several of the RPGC committee members said they didn't oppose a monthly stipend for the city directors that is similar to what the Garland County JPs receive. Per the article, the JPs receive $915 a month. The opposition was to the directors, us, becoming employees of the city. What? Let me explain. The choices of this were for the city directors to either become employees of the city and receive a W-2 for any compensation that we might be granted if this ballot measure passes, or to receive a 1099 and be considered self-employed or contract labor for any compensation we might be granted. JPs are employees of Garland County, and they receive a W-2 each year. That requires that taxes are withheld from the JP's compensation. Same article in the Sentinel Record reported that the 23-24 Garland County Quorum Court made changes to the personnel policy that allows JPs to participate in the county's self-insured employee health insurance program, provided the JPs pay the monthly premiums. Well, if the JPs are authorized to participate in a self-funded employee health insurance program, they would have to be county employees, which they are. The ballot measure that we refer to the voters does not say we, the city directors, will be on the city's insurance. It only states that if any of the city directors qualify for insurance, the city board would then have to consider a separate ordinance to institute that coverage. Same is true for APERS. It doesn't say that we will become APERS members. It states that if we qualify, again, a separate ordinance would have to be considered to authorize our participation. And preliminary inquiries with APERS indicates that we as city directors would likely not be able to participate in APERS. In the article in the Sentinel Records, the words overreach and utterly ridiculous were used to describe a situation in which we as city directors would be entrusted to set our compensation, determined we were or were not eligible to join the city's insurance program and the state's retirement. All of this with the requirement of voter approval. It doesn't sound like overreach to me, nor does it appear to be utterly ridiculous that we are asking the voters to approve these actions. Another statement was made in this article that compensation would make them, talking about us as city directors, employees of the city, and then not your, which your there is referring to the citizens of Hot Springs, representatives. Compensation would make the city directors employees of the city and not representatives of the city of Hot Springs. Really? JPs are the governing body of the county. They're elected and compensated. Don't they represent the voters of Garland County? Of course they do. Our state representatives and state senators are elected officials. They're compensated. Don't they represent the voters of the district who elected them? Of course they do. Our members of Congress, Representative Westerman and Senators Bozeman and Cotton, they're all elected by the voters, in Representative Westerman's case of Congressional District 4, and in the case of Senators Bozeman and Cotton, by voters from across the state for the senators, and they are compensated. Don't they represent the voters of Congressional District 4 and the voters of Arkansas for the U.S. Senators? Of course they do. JPs are county employees, and they vote to approve all the salaries, which includes their own salaries when they pass a county budget each year. Our state representatives and our state senators are employees of the state of Arkansas for income tax withholding purposes and receive a W-2 for the compensation, which I verified over the weekend. They vote to approve all state employee salaries, including their own salaries, when they vote to approve a state budget each year. Our members of Congress are employees of the federal government for income tax withholding purposes. They receive a W-2 for their compensation, and they approve all federal government employees' salaries, including their own, when they vote to approve a federal budget each year. All of these groups, the JPs, the state representatives, state senators, and all of our congressional delegation are already doing what this ballot measure would authorize we, the city directors, to do. These groups I've mentioned are all being trusted to do what's right until they do something that breaks that trust. And when that trust is broken, what recourse do the voters have? They can vote us out of office if we break their trust. That same trust should be given to us, the directors of the city, until we do something to break that trust. If we vote compensation for ourselves that's too much in the eyes of the city voters, then our constituents, our voters, have the right to vote us out of office at the next election cycle. What we as city directors are asking for in terms of compensation is $750 a month. Let's do some math. I like numbers. $750 a month, 7 directors, including you, Mayor, times 12 months is $63,000 a year. Just for comparison purposes, let's do the same math for the county. Garland County has 13 JPs in the governing body who are compensated $9.15 a month per the Sentinel Record article. $9.15 per JP times 13 JPs times 12 months is $142,740. That's 2.25 times the total compensation for the county's governing body than what we're asking for in compensation for the city's governing body. And again, just for perspective, not saying it's too high or too low, according to the Sentinel Record article, the county's annual budget for 2026 that the JPs approved last fall is $113 million. The city's annual budget for 2026 that we as city directors approved last fall is about $175 million. That's 1.5 times the county budget. Actually, it's 1.55 times the county budget. Yet our compensation ask is only 44% of what the county pays its governing body. Overreach by the city board? No. Utterly ridiculous? Absolutely not. It's just math. And finally, a comment quoted in the Sentinel Record tried to tie the question about city directors' compensation to the downtown parking issue. That's absurd. Two issues are not related in any way. As we directors have said, even here tonight, and as our city manager and deputy city manager have said several times, revenues from parking fees have been considered solely for the purpose to attempt to generate an income stream that the city might leverage in order to issue bonds and build a second parking deck near the northern end of downtown. The biggest complaint about downtown, which we heard again tonight, is not enough parking. Parking revenues do not go into our general fund revenue account, as Karen told us tonight. Parking revenues are in an enterprise fund, meaning that parking revenues may only be used for parking-related expenses. The city has several such enterprise funds. And to close, I've always considered myself an open-minded voter, but generally conservative in my points of view. I typically vote in the Republican primary, as I have several friends and acquaintances, as well as some former co-workers who are or have been local candidates in the Republican primary over the last few election cycles. But I've always voted for the person, though, regardless of his or her party or political affiliation in the general election. As city directors, we serve in nonpartisan positions. I'd like to keep it that way. Director Holliday referred to our good working relationship on the city board, despite some divergent political views during her comments last Thursday to the Leadership Class 38. I don't understand why the RPGC felt it necessary to address the issue of compensation for us as nonpartisan city directors. We're not asking for anything that the county's governing body doesn't already have. We're not asking for anything that our state representatives and state senators don't already have. We're not asking for anything that the members of our congressional delegation don't already have. I just want to encourage the Hot Springs city voters to get out and vote, and to consider giving your city directors the same authority that the governing bodies of our county, our state, and our nation already have. But this ballot measure is ultimately for the voters of Hot Springs to decide. And of course, we as city directors will abide by whatever the voters decide. Thank you for listening.
Very good. Other items for discussion? Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. About a week ago, I was approached by a group that represents the Civil Air Patrol, and they're constituents here local who are looking to revamp this program to bring it up to a much more involved scale. We've got a March 5th tenant meeting. I want to see if they can be available, at least one, available to attend. The Civil Air Patrol does have a building located at our airport now, and it's my understanding, and I'd be happy to give you some contact information of one of the people that was with the group where you can reach back and forth.
That's probably more appropriate for
Okay.
that meeting.
Well, I bring it up, I know March 5th is really going to focus on a tenant meeting, but it was my understanding that there is some possibility of looking at a different housing quarter for the Civil Air Patrol, and if that's the case, it might be helpful for that person to be at that meeting.
They're welcome to attend it, but I would strongly suggest they
Have
come
him call
before.
you.
We're privileged to more history with that organization, so I would
Okay.
highly recommend they come meet with me prior to March 5th.
Be happy to give you contact info. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions or discussion items? Please, Director Garcia.
Hearing no more comments, I move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Is it just me or?